Test one, two, test one, two. Okay, so, um, it's a Saturday night. Technically, it's Sunday, but Saturday night at midnight. Let's just do some fun stuff. For once, let's do some fun stuff. So I just find this stuff so funny. Oh, hey everyone, how's it going? I just find this so funny. I'm like, what? I don't want to talk about Trump. I mean, I'm going to end up talking about Gaza, but I don't really want to. OMG, it's 2 a.m. I don't really want to talk about it. Like, who should I talk about? I'll go back to this guy. This is my old friend, Matt Frad. This guy is fucking hilarious. I go to his channel, and this is what I see. Are sex scenes always immoral? With the guy from the Daily Wire, Andrew Clavin. I mean, oh my god, are you kidding me? I needed to watch this on stream. Are sex scenes always immoral? This has been a question on my mind since I understood what sex scenes were. So we need to get this going. We need to like get this going and actually watch this. And maybe Vadim will be joining us later, but we'll see. So let's just start this, and then we'll just mess around tonight. I don't want this to be too serious or anything like that.
To kind of tease it out. Have you heard of the language of intrinsic evil? This is what the church teaches. It just means that there are certain things, certain objects chosen by the will that cannot be remediated by intention or circumstance. Huh, okay. And it sounds like you agree with it.
So just one thing real quick. This guy has 708,000 subscribers. He's almost got 1 million subscribers. His channel has grown a lot pretty much in the last few years since Donald Trump really began running, and I think he's representative of this kind of rise of Christian fundamentalism that we're seeing in the United States. Guys like Ben Shapiro are they're getting kind of relegated to the wayside in this conservative movement, and people are just becoming a lot more Christian fundamentalist conservative, like white supremacist. In the Republican Party, they are trying to ban porn. They're trying to ban trans people. They're trying to make it illegal to have abortion or birth control. All of these are religious fundamentalist policies. There's no actual benefit to humanity other than this small group of people enforcing their views of how the world should work on everyone else. I always say that like religious fundamentalists, or like people will say, live and let live. I'll live my life the way I want to live my life, and I'll let you live your life the way you want to live your life. But then religious fundamentalists show up and they're like, I'm going to live my life the way I want to live my life, and I'm going to make you live your life the way I want you to live your life. So it's like live and let live, or live and force you to live in the way that I want you to live. That's kind of the position that these people are at. So that's kind of like what informs a lot of conservative politics. It's like money and then religious fundamentalism. When I was a teen, sex scenes in movies on VHS was all we could get. Hey, those might have been the immoral sex scenes. So this is a clip from like a full podcast, and maybe we'll watch the full thing. But like this was good enough to post. Sex scenes are never needed for the art unless the art intends to corrupt your soul. Okay, let's just start this.
Because earlier on you said there's no possible universe in which bringing down an axe on an old woman's head could be justified. That's right. You can't say, well, you know, his intention was to free her from suffering, or the consequences were that her sister, let's say, in a different world, became rich and people benefited. And in fact, that is actually one of the things that they talked about at the pool hall before he makes the murder. If you remember, he tries to justify it, saying that she's something of a leech on society. Right. So there are certain actions that are always and in every instance wrong. like killing humans wouldn't be an intrinsic evil, but murdering the innocent intentionally would be, yeah? Right. So I think that pornography, and I love talking about pornography because I just find the subject so fascinating.
It is a fascinating.
Okay, so a little bit of background about this man. The last time we watched him, he made it abundantly clear that he hated his family. The guy he was talking to also said that he hated his family. This guy, I guess, has struggled with pornography addiction. Another clip that I was we need to watch this one too. The legal battle against DEI and gender ideology has begun. Like, guys, this is the driving force behind a lot of the policies that the Republicans are passing. Like, obviously, tax cuts to the rich, empowering the oligarchy. That's money to interests. But everything else is this religious fundamentalist bullshit that is just coming from the desire to control and dominate and basically impress your worldview that's informed by your religion onto everyone else in the population. The title of this is Modern Art, Pornography, and Redemption. What does he have to redeem himself from? Like, this guy did not leave the Daily Wire, by the way. But yeah, when this guy talks about how he loves to talk about porn, like, look at this timestamp. This timestamp is overcoming masturbation on his podcast, which I also wanted to watch. And it's like 7 minutes of him talking about how he overcame masturbation. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Are sex scenes always immoral? That's what I wanted to find out.
I don't know how to define it. I've tried, and I'll give you mine in a minute, but you can look at pornography from different angles, hey?
It was moral.
The production, the distribution, the consumption, the performing in. I think pornography is something like material which depicts erotic behavior and which is intended to be interacted with in the way a man might interact with a prostitute. It entered the English language in the mid-19th.
So once again, I love the vain attempts to try to define pornography into a neat box where you are trying to separate it from art, right? He's trying to say that pornography is a completely separate thing, but there can be nudity depicted in art, there can be eroticism depicted in art. However, art is not intended to be engaged in a way that a man would engage with a prostitute. But then it's like, okay, well, people engage with prostitutes in different ways, right? Like, Jesus was famously friends with prostitutes. Are you going to say you can't be friendly? Like, they just can't define it in its own neatly contained box, because every single definition they come up with has externalities and caveats and differences that you can poke holes at. But there's Republicans trying to ban porn on a nationwide scale. There's Republicans banning porn on statewide scales. And this is the people that support this.
Century to mean just that, a sort of pornographia, the writing of the prostitutes, so that a man or a woman engages in pornography in a sort of sexualized way that leads them to climax. I think that's intrinsically evil. I don't think there's any situation in which that's acceptable from any angle. But you know what's really fascinating? I've shared this on the show before, so people will forgive me, but I hope you'll find it interesting. A man can look... think of a situation where a couple go to an Airbnb and they're out on the back deck and they've had a couple of wines and they make love. And and let's say there's a camera and it's filming it. And so now you have a filmed sex act, which is not pornography. And then let's say you've got a fella who owns the Airbnb, pulls up.
Wait, what does he mean it's not pornography? Why would that not be pornography? Okay. Once again, like, what? This is such a weird, mental game that he's creating for himself. He's like, this is pornography, but like, they're not actually trying to do something bad, so it must not be pornography. But it's people having sex on tape. You can access the tapes and see them having sex. Like, once again, what would the difference be? The fact that they didn't consent to it? So now pornography is only if people consent to being filmed? Like, where is he going with this?
Up his computer, because there's an alert, and he's now watching a filmed sex act which objectively isn't pornography, but could subjectively be that to him, but not necessarily. So, like, to stretch it and to say it even more aggressively, a man could watch child pornography and it be a good thing. What do I mean? The police officer, who, I'll say it really quickly, right?
What the fuck, dude? Dude, he just said a man could watch child pornography and it could be a good thing? Oh my god. Okay, why would you clip this? Why would you post this in your... Why would you clip this out of your podcast? You should delete the podcast episode when you said that.
Subjectively be that to him, but not necessarily. So, like, to stretch it and to say it even more aggressively, a man could...
You don't need to stretch it and say it more aggressively. You don't need to do that. Why would you say that?
Watch child pornography and it be a good thing. What do I mean? The police officer, who, I'll say it really quickly, right? Who views child pornography for the sake of identifying a victim and a perpetrator. So there's this distinction then between what we could say watching and then maybe consuming, like interacting with the...
Okay, dude, you don't need to make that distinction. Like, yeah, you can say that, like, you need to be able to identify it, but why are you trying to say it's consumption of the pornography or watching the... Like, what... why would you say that in the way that you said it? He's like, you can watch it, you can consume it. No, that's not consumption. That's not watching it. That's just identifying what the material is. I don't think the officer's like getting into the plot.
Material, the way in which the producer or distributor intends it to be. All right. So I'd love your thought.
He's like, I watch child pornography with my clothes on. That's not how the distributors intended it to be. Once again, it's a completely ridiculous thing that he's saying on its face. The idea that he's trying to define the intent behind watching pornography as what makes that thing bad. It's like, because he's basically trying to say that there are some things that, even though they're sexually explicit, they're not inherently morally bad. That's what he's trying to say, because there are sexually explicit scenes in the Bible, and he's going to try to say that that's not inherently morally bad. He's trying to say that, you know, for some art, there's like naked women, naked men. That's not inherently morally bad, even if they're having sex. It's the way that the author depicted it. It's the way that people were consuming it. But then he gets into these rabbit holes where he's now saying that watching or consuming child pornography isn't bad if you're doing it in a way that the person who produced that didn't intend for it to be produced, which is a wild thing to say. And I don't think he stuck the landing with this.
On that, if you have them. But I don't think it's ever okay to watch pornography. And so I would say things like, I wouldn't say that Game of Thrones is pornography. It's, from what I understand, I've never watched the show. It's an excellent, complicated, sophisticated story,
great story,
but clearly contains pornography.
Yes.
So I think it's always wrong to consume that. But I don't think you think that. I think maybe you're okay with...
Well, how do you know? Shouldn't you be able to consume it just so you can identify it as pornography? Which I guess you're... So he's okay with people consuming child porn in order to identify that as pornography, but he's not willing himself to consume the television show Game of Thrones so that he can make the statement that that contains pornography within it.
Watching, I'm not saying you delight in it, but that it's sometimes morally acceptable to view or to portray sex acts graphically in books or movies. That's what I picked up from this, but I can't tell.
Well, yes, it's such a complicated thing. I have a lot to say about it. I do have to start with one story. Yep. When I first moved in with my girlfriend.
When I first watched child pornography, I was just doing it for the memes. No. Oh my God, it's so fucking stupid.
Girlfriend, who is now my wife of 50 years, we had this little place on a narrow street in Manhattan, and across the street.
How old is this man?
And started making love next to an open window.
What the fuck is he talking about? Why are they all so fucking creepy? Okay, hold on. I gotta play. I'll be right back.
Pornography for the sake of identifying a victim and a perpetrator. So there's this distinction then between what we could say watching and then maybe consuming, like interacting with the material, the way in which the producer or distributor intends it to be. All right. So I'd love your thoughts on that if you have them. But I don't think it's ever okay to watch pornography. And so I would say things like, I wouldn't say that Game of Thrones is pornography. From what I understand, I've never watched the show. It's an excellent, complicated, sophisticated story,
great story,
but clearly contains pornography.
Yes.
So I think it's always wrong to consume that. But I don't think you think that. I think maybe you're okay with watching. I'm not saying you delight in it, but that it's sometimes morally acceptable to view or to portray sex acts graphically in books or movies. That's what I picked up from this, but I can't tell.
Well, it's such a complicated thing. I have a lot to say about it. I do have to start with one story. Yep. When I first moved in with the girlfriend who is now my wife of 50 years.
He's a cutie.
We had this little place on a narrow street in Manhattan.
Wait, so is he admitting to having sex before marriage? This guy's a dog, man.
And across the street, this beautiful couple moved in and started making love next to an open window.
Damn it.
What's that?
Come on, guys.
Oh, he wasn't having sex.
We need a blackout curtain.
And I'm thinking, unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And they were gorgeous. I mean, she was
what?
Unbelievably beautiful. And they're doing...
What the fuck? Why? Once again, you don't have to admit to being a creeper on your neighbors in order to get a point across. Why are these guys... Like, these guys are just doing the fucking RFK Jr. thing, where they're like, did you sexually assault your maid? And he's like, I have a lot of skeletons in my closet. I mean, I hung out with P. Diddy. I hung out with Epstein. Like, they're just volunteering the worst parts about their lives.
And my wife came in, my soon-to-be wife came in, and I said, this is filthy. This is really obscene. And she looked over my shoulder. She said, we do all that. And I said, well, it's not obscene when we do it because it's happening. It's internal. You know, what we're doing is not just a flesh on flesh. It's actually soul to soul, you know.
And that may have been the case. Well, I don't know what you were looking at, and I don't want to know.
No, what I'm saying is, to me, it was pornography because I was just watching forms, shapes. But to them, it wasn't. You know, that's what my wife was saying. To them, it may have been the greatest love of all. They may still be together and, you know, have a dozen kids and all this. Yeah. So that is one place where I think the pornographic lives. I'm always a little worried about the word evil because
he's not. That story didn't have a point. The point of that story was he was a creeper watching his neighbors having sex. And then his wife is like, why the fuck are you watching the neighbors? That was the point of the story, was to brag about seeing a hot woman getting railed. There was nothing about like the spirituality of sex in that at all. He's just like, oh, I saw them having sex and that's porn. So you're just defining porn as watching other people having sex. Okay, whatever. Let's continue.
Like
I want to talk about this.
Okay, there's some things like that are so like I would say pornography is always corrupt and corrupting.
But that's what I think evil is, and so do you. Which I was really pleased in your opening chapter. You and I agree on what evil is.
Yeah,
it's parasitical. It doesn't have positive sort of energy.
Right.
It's the absence of something that ought to be there.
Right. But
so corruption. That word corruption means just that, right?
Right. But I guess what I'm talking about is in the same way I would use the word art to mean craft at the highest level. I think of evil as the lowest level of corruption, you know? And I think, in other words, if you steal a stick of gum, it's different than shooting a guy in the head. You
Definitely.
know?
Unless you do both. And then,
then if you do both.
The gum wasn't worth it.
So when it comes to art, I loved Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. And it was the first few seasons as HBO's trick to keep...
Once again, these guys have nothing. It's just bad things is things that I don't like. Good things are things that I like. And so he likes Game of Thrones, and so he defends Game of Thrones. This guy doesn't know anything about Game of Thrones, so he's able to say that that's pornography. So religion is a justification for your worldview. And because religion easily justifies oppression of minority groups, women, fear of the others, bigotry against like different religions, then you get a lot of people that agree with those worldviews using religion as a justification for it. And even though some aspects of religion can justify like socialism, caring about other people, looking past like social shallowness and looking into like treating people with respect. That's not really like, people find other ways to justify that, and they don't need religion to justify it because it's justifiable without religion. Bigotry, it's really not that justifiable, and so religion's a good tool to justify it. And so this guy likes Game of Thrones, and he's gonna use religion to justify it. So yeah, we'll see.
Keep you watching. They would have, they would explain something, and while they were explaining something, two naked women would be having sex. No, absolutely no reason. They call it, what do they call it? Sex position, because it's expositional dialogue explaining the story, and then they just have these two women banging each other for no reason. And at one point, I was watching it with my wife, and I turned to my wife and I said, "Put your shirt on, sweetheart. I can't hear the dialogue." It's like, so I found that exploitative. I found it wrong. Right. I found it difficult. But I knew it wasn't going to do anything to me. I mean, I know myself well enough at this point that, like, I said to a friend, "You should be watching this." And he said, "I can't because I get addicted to porn." Right. And I said, "Then you shouldn't be watching.
You need to know yourself."
Yes. But I guess for me, I thought, I love stories so much, and they mean so much to me, and they do so much good for me, that I thought, like, all right, I get it, HBO. I know these guys. I know the people who run HBO. I know what they're thinking. It just didn't bother me in that way.
Okay, so just this is so funny. He's like, I can handle watching a pair of tits on the screen, and I know how good stories do for me. They do stories are like a nice hot cup of tea. They just soothe my soul. So I think that I can handle. I'll just like avoid looking at that part of the screen. Bro, you already gave a story about how you stared at your hot neighbor getting railed by her husband, and then you're like, you just admitted you couldn't pay attention to the dialogue because there were boobs on the screen. You're not beating the lecherous old man allegations, and like hiding yourself in a veil of religiosity isn't really doing the trick at fooling people.
I've seen very, very few nude scenes that were necessary. I mean, I can count them on one hand.
Okay.
Yeah,
and to your,
because he's only going to have one hand to count with when he's going through finding all those nude scenes.
The point, maybe I'll watch a movie with my wife and something will happen, right? I'm like, okay, because I need to do that.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Because she's not consuming, she's watching. Right. There's the distinction. I remember one of my
the
mates from high school,
he went home
versus
watching
after school and found his mother had found his porn collection and was cutting up the, So this woman's clearly not guilty of consuming pornography, even though she saw exactly what he saw. Yeah. It's something about the reduction of the human person to an object for my selfish gratification. So, yeah, all right, keep going.
So, and I think it's very, very different in novels than it is in movies. And Alfred Hitchcock said the two things you should never film, and he filmed both of them, but he said two things you should never film are prayer and sex. And he didn't say why, but my conclusion was he meant because they're internal acts, and when you show them, you're not showing it. And this is one of my problems with the movies in general, by the way.
Mr. Skin website.
It's almost always represented as a sex scene in modern movies. And you think like, well, I sort of see that, in terms of storytelling, but in terms of what I'm watching, it's corrupt, because that's not what happens when you fall in love. It's not always the moment that you go to bed. In fact, hopefully it's much later than that, but still, I understand they're representing something, but it's a false representation. I think it is corrupting. In books, you can write the inner life of somebody. And one of my many run-ins with Christian readers was in a fantasy trilogy I did called Another Kingdom, where at one point the hero becomes corrupt. And I had describe him using his power to bed a starlet. He's become a famous Hollywood producer, and he uses it to bed a starlet. And he talks.
Okay, this is crazy. Here's Vadim. Let's see if he's around. Hey, how's it going?
It's all right. Are we live?
Yes, we are. Let me throw you up a little bit. Here, let me turn on my camera so you can see me.
Sure.
Okay, there we go. How's it going?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I have been up to a lot today and got a lot of kind of fun irons in the fire that I'm gonna keep to myself, but that I'm
Okay.
to working on. Just hey, a little bit of suspense for everybody out there. But also I have good brain days and I have bad brain days, and today is a pretty decent one. So
Nice.
yeah. And have you been watching any of the debate yet?
I watched more of it, not on stream though. I was just like put on these religious fundamentalists. But I have your debate pulled up here because I did want to watch it tonight. Maybe not like the whole thing, but
Sure.
oh my God.
I mean, it might be boring.
Could be
I definitely kind of it's very fucking long. It's like 4.5 hours.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy long.
And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have good brain days and bad brain days, and I don't think that I excel as a debater. I used to be better at it because, just for your audience and people, the assholes that I debate on the internet, use this against me, but it's just fucking true. I have the craziest sleep disorder that has plagued me for 20 years. It kind of changed my life, to tell you the truth. And just my real point is that there are times where I'm just totally with it and able to just really kind of talk normally and whatnot. And then I have other points where I'm just sort of, I mean, not that I feel like I got to this level in the debate, but I can actually get to a point where somebody might logically think is that guy on drugs? He looks like he's on drugs.
Yeah.
And and it just is that just is the way that it is. And I've actually been trying it sucks, but I've been trying to accept it more. Several years ago I could debate no problem. And maybe, if I have an improvement in my medication and whatnot and other factors, I could bounce back. But for now, that's how I am. And for a while, I kind of have been just kind of on the fray, not wanting to jump in and debate because, here and there, I just don't want to fall on my face, as I have. There's been another debate where I did. But all this stuff just pisses me off so fucking much.
Yeah. Wait, what stuff? Just the sleep disorder?
Mean, no. I mean, sorry, I can see how I probably wasn't specific enough. I mean, just the Gaza genocide.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
all of these just slop tubers and idiots that are at this point, this point where you're just stunned that anyone can look at all of this slaughter and destruction and so much just not only recognize that for what it is, but just recognize Israel for what they're doing. And it, I mean, there's never been a world event that has just captured me like this and just made me so just affected by it every day.
Yeah.
And so when I sit on the sidelines and just see these assholes spreading either lies or ignorant bullshit or both, I just I'm just I gotta jump in. I gotta do something.
So can I ask what made you want to talk to Hutch in the first place? Was there an inciting event?
Yeah, there was. He posted a tweet He posted a couple of tweets where he was talking about, first I saw some tweets where he was talking about how comparing the ANC to Hamas is insane.
Oh yeah.
And then there were like other tweets where he was whitewashing Mandela, and then there was a tweet, one tweet in particular, where he, I think it was in conjunction to some other shit he was saying about the ANC, a common kind of whitewashing talking point that they say, and there is of course truth to this, is that they focused on hitting infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and he said something to the effect of like terrorism is taking civilian lives for a political end, something like that, and like they didn't do that, and I was like, bro, you are deliberately just like kind of obfuscating the definition of terrorism, or the common definition of terrorism, by like basically saying that hitting infrastructure is not considered terrorism.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't get that argument, honestly. It's like,
yeah.
the ANC was better than Hamas. Is that the argument that they're making? And so then what? We shouldn't be advocating for a one-state solution where everyone has equal rights? Like, I like, what's the logical conclusion of this argument? Because it seems to be, it's just an argument made to try to spite people that are too pro-Palestine in their eyes, that are calling it a genocide and saying that the Palestinian people are pretty much have no agency in this situation. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, no, it's like, and I don't even think they fully, like, a lot of them fully realize what they're doing. I don't think that they kind of like really take inventory of like, just like I think that they just regurgitate shit. But my point is that and you're smart enough to know this. This is just literally how every single resistance group at a specific point, in history, is going to be received by those who by those who are opposed to it, by those who just have like, I think, like a general conservative bent. They will take, because like I'm hoping maybe one day I can make a video about this stuff, because I find it so fascinating. Yet at the same time, one reason why I say like maybe I won't is because, like, honestly, I don't know how click worthy it would end up being, and unfortunately, that's when I get back to making content, that's always something you have to think about. But I am like a connoisseur, or just like I hunt high and low throughout the internet for propaganda from the South African, but like both propaganda that other people made, and like say like Ronald Reagan, like kind of talking about like the ANC as though they're terrorists, things like that, but really propaganda that was created by South Africa, by like because it's just really illuminating when you see it. It like they're doing everything that that Israel does, and it makes sense, because it's just like oppressive regimes are going to, like, there's just a set of tactics that they're naturally going to go to. They have to dehumanize these people. They have to kind of like make them out to be just like brutish terrorist thugs. And that's exactly what they did, of course, with the ANC. And so, like, back then, there was no way that you couldn't say they would say like, oh my God, they're targeting all this infrastructure. They're terrorists.
Right.
So it's just this like shifting target, you know, like it doesn't matter like what you do, they will, if, and you know this, you know, like with the March of Return, like they went the peaceful route. And anyway, yada, yada, yada. I want to show you something real quick. I'm going to get up because, or rather I'm going to turn off my screen for 1 second, because boxers and don't want to be indecent, but show you something and see, this is how much of like a weird nerd I am for here, I'm putting my camera back on. A weird nerd I am for this stuff. This kind of thing is extremely hard to find. But this right here is a magazine from I think it's 1986. And it's made by the Family Protection Scoreboard, which
special edition on South Africa.
Yeah.
So it's an American publication?
It was I think it's a Canadian publication.
Oh, interesting.
But I could be wrong. I need to find more about it. But this entire, it's really amazing in terms of like you know what? I don't want to open it up right now. But basically, like, if you look through it, article to article, there's just you see like every single tactic that Israel, you know, does. Like an article on like how they, you know what? I'll go ahead and open it. It's kind of a cool thing to show off.
Yeah.
But like
that's so crazy.
So first of all, it like throughout there's like things about like how, you know, what a great vacation destination site it is, and they will say things like, you know, South Africa is such a diverse nation.
My gosh.
And you know, like it's more than you've heard in the news, and of course Israel does that. You're, you know, I'm sure you've seen people.
Ethan Klein has said that. Ethan Klein has talked about how beautiful and diverse Israel is, and how he wanted to go there to show that there is no segregation within Israel proper.
Yep, and there's you know, there's like this section on liberation movements, and basically like, you know, when they talk about the ANC and whatnot, they I mean, you know, that they like focused on the things like necklacing that they did.
Oh yeah.
And you know, which was, for your audience if they don't know, they would kill civilians that they thought were like, I forget what the word would be, but
collaborators.
Basically like traitors or collaborators. Yes, that's what they called it. And like, you
kill
know,
them in a brutal
funny.
way.
Yes, in an extremely brutal way. And you know, it's funny because it occurred to me, it's like most people who like Loner Box and just all these people, they will talk about how, you know, they will admit that there was necklacing, and they will admit that there, like, you know, that there was a low amount of deaths, but it was, you know, just a bit of them. But anyway, another thing that they'll do is that they'll often talk about how like, you know, Hamas is really sinister because of the fact that they will kill dissenting people there, and I'm sure they have. You know, I think that those I think those stories are probably overreported. I can't say that for certain, or not overreported, but just like overstated,
overemphasized.
But I mean, they may not be. I don't have, like, actually I haven't like really, like, you know, I don't have any evidence to say one way or the other. But my point is that they're doing the same shit that the ANC was doing with necklacing.
Well, I have to say, like, I watched a bit of your debate with Hutch, and I shut it off when he was basically like, oh yeah, well, I'm fine saying it's a genocide now, but before then it was they were just doing mass atrocities, and then I'm like, okay, like you're just being contrarian at this point. But then the thing that I wanted to bring up in relation to what we were just talking about is how you're like, okay, well, Hamas has done violent things, ANC has done violent things, and it's like, yeah, but the goal of Hamas is to do genocide. And then you're like, okay, but they changed their charter. And it's like, but do you really think they changed their charter, or did they just do that so that like the international community wouldn't condemn them? They actually still are genocidal. And at that point, it's just like, this is a non-falsifiable claim that he has, that
Yes.
Hamas is evil. Nothing you can say will change his mind on that front. And what is the purpose of talking with someone like that? Like, they've targeted more non-civilians than Israel has. They have a higher likelihood, or they have a higher ratio of soldiers to civilians dead than Israel has. The goal of October 7th, you can say, was to get hostages, so you can do hostage deals with Israel, who had hostages before. Like, the idea that they're just some evil organization that needs to be eradicated no matter what, to me seems to be coming from a place of just racism and also bigotry against Palestinian people, because they're the evil ones. And if he's saying that Israel's not doing genocide when every one of their leaders was saying genocidal statements, and then he just changes his tune like a few weeks ago, that just seems to be someone who, while understanding that Israel is doing bad things, has a internal narrative that Israel's still inherently kind of like the good guys, and Palestine and the Palestinians are kind of inherently the bad guys. So I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I was getting from that conversation. You actually talked to him. What do you think?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I totally get saying like, why, what is the point of doing it? And I don't even know. Again, like I started out by saying I'm just so like pissed off by all of this, and I'm not kind of. I'm going to be. I think I will be more fulfilled about like all this when I because really I just excel more than anything at written, polished, performed content rather than off the cuff stuff, for sure. And I can't even answer that adequately. Like, I mean, yes, I want to go out there and possibly change some minds. I don't know if I'll tell you, I got like 4 or 5 messages in my Twitter from people who I felt like I must have made an impression, because basically they all said the same thing. They were all like, hey, like, I'm a Hutch fan, and to be honest, like I think a lot of the things that you were arguing for were really like I think they're like really bad, but you did seem like a really nice guy, and I thought that he was not cool with you, and like most of them also said something like added something like I disagreed with you, but like I felt like your drive, or just like like I respected you going in. And I don't know, I mean, I just I can't help but think that like I don't think that those people would have bothered to write to me if something didn't resonate with them that I said,
No, that's true. And I don't think there's like a drawback on going on to shows like that and talking with people like that. It's not like there's going to be less people online that are pro-Palestinian after having a conversation with Hodge.
Well, I mean, there is definitely an argument to be made, because there's no arguing that I did a stellar job. There may have been moments where I did just fine, but at the end, I should have given myself a hard out. And I don't even think, to tell you the truth, if you really listen to what I have to say in the loner box part, even though that he is just kind of like, he's got all the debate bro like tactics down pat. So he was able to like talk super fast, say a million things, kind of like he also has just this, frankly, this like really powerful, loud voice. So,
Loner box.
in terms of, yeah, loner box. So in terms of like, just showmanship, that's so much of what people respond to in debates. It was more in his favor, but I still think that the points that I made to him, I think that they stand on their own. And if you really think about it, the points that I made still like make him look like an asshole. Like basically, I can tell you, elaborate on that in a second. But I guess I'm just saying that I am wondering like how much I should either make sure that I have hard fast outs if I find that I am just like at my limit, or if I get to a point where I just cannot like really converse well. Or maybe I just really shouldn't wade into those at all. Like maybe I'm just not I think I can do some good in maybe talking on my own, having conversations with people like you, but having a debate is a different thing. And just the last thing that I'll say to like complete that is, it's just like, I don't want to make my side look bad. I don't want to. So some of these arguments are arguments that do need to be made with some like degree of skill. Like you can, if you're talking about certain topics, you like just are too careless with it, you can say let's say you're talking about the problems with the various mass rape allegations.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that there is an abundance of evidence that that stuff just they don't, or I should say a huge lack of evidence that they have of their claims. What?
A dearth of evidence.
Yes, a dearth. I like how that sounds. A dearth of evidence.
I was listening to Lord of the Rings, and then they use that word, so I'm like, I gotta use that sometime. No, but yes, go on.
And then on top of that, not only do we have a lack of evidence, but we also have lots of accounts that have been shown to be like just obvious lies. Like, there are people who have been just like kind of scandalized by it. It's just not. And so yeah, that's the sort of thing. Like if you are not talking about that carefully, you can make your side look pretty bad. You can make yourself and your side look pretty bad. So it's just like, I don't want to do that, but I'm trying to see if I can find like a happy medium, and we'll see. I mean, again, like I think if I start just making content, then I will feel like I am contributing, and maybe I don't need to do the debate thing. But I do want to say real quickly, because you brought up one thing about that I've been thinking about a lot. You mentioned about how Hutch was like, well, now it's like really obvious that they're like starving them, and so now maybe genocide.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, my favorite thing is it's genocidal
Yeah.
actions.
Oh, did he say that?
I think he said that, and that's something that
Well,
other people have said too, like Piers Morgan,
it's
I
just
think.
like it's just like it's so fucking weird to think that you just oopsie into a genocide. It's like
Yeah.
all this time they were doing it right, and then like all of a sudden now genocide. Like, no, these sorts of things only happen when you have governments, when you have like regimes that are genocidal, you know.
Right.
Like, it wouldn't happen otherwise. And so it's like yeah, it's just like the fact that we are here, like if you finally if you finally like have woken up and you're like, okay, yes, genocide now. Like,
Well, I find it so.
they like woke up and all of a sudden, like, you know, they became genocidal. Some people are going to blame it on Trump and whatnot, but yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should have let you speak.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say, like, I found it so extra ironic. Well, I found it so ironic because Hutch was getting through Hutch had talked about the perils of Hassan not openly endorsing Kamala Harris and like wholeheartedly endorsing her. Like he's never heard of the idea of a voting bloc trying to get candidates to bend to their will and pass policies that they support. So he talks about how, Hassan, or the other thing he talked about is how like Hassan himself didn't say that the DC shooting was a false flag, but the people in his chat were saying it was a false flag, even though Hassan specifically said, I think it's not a false flag. And then he's also like, yeah, but Mike from PA said, I think it is a false flag. So he's talking about how important it is to not only like be responsible with your words, but then make sure that your chat doesn't even bring up an idea that he thinks is dangerous. And yet he's going to sit there and be like, all of the things Israel does, yeah, there's like atrocities, but it's not genocide. It's not genocidal intent. So he's saying that, you know, Hassan needs to be responsible for his words, but he doesn't have any kind of self-reflection on the importance that his words have during like a live stream genocide that we've been seeing for the last year and a half.
Yep.
Like the total lack of self-awareness is mind-boggling, and the idea that he doesn't think that's important, he thinks that's less important than people saying the DC shooting was a false flag. He holds that in higher importance in his mind than accurately depicting what Israel is doing and accurately describing what Israel is doing. And once again, like that just shows a complete lack of care for the Palestinian people. And at this point, I think that's just what you have to have if you have a platform online and you're not adamantly talking about that every time you're turning on your stream. Like it's watching Ethan Klein over the past like 6-7 months, however long, it's become so clear to me that he does not give a fuck about the Palestinian people whatsoever. He hasn't spoken once since I've been watching him in October about anything that the Palestinians have experienced. And the only time he's talked about Palestine outside of the context of defending the actions of Israel or defending himself is when Trump released an AI video talking about colonizing Palestine, colonizing Gaza. That's the one time he's talked about it. He hasn't said anything else. So yeah, I think that like that complete lack of care to the point of dehumanization is just a common through line in all of these people.
Of course, you have to I think that when you lean into this, it becomes this like vicious cycle, vicious circle. I'm sorry, I'm like getting a bit mixed up here. But
it does seem like a vicious cycle.
This just
feedback loop.
It's like it snowballs, because the thing is that in order to like, you know, prioritize Israel in order to kind of just make, like stand for them over Palestine, you by necessity you have to dehumanize these people, because if you are looking at them in the same way that you look at yourself, or that you look at Israelis, or just human, the way that every human should be looked at, then you're going to realize, oh my God, this is horrible. And so you come up with all these reasons why they deserve it. And I think that a lot of this stuff, I mean, practically all of it, of course, is like subconsciously, like people don't actively like realize how this, like how this works. But it's like, and then as things get worse and worse and worse, you have to, like, in order not to face the music, you have to just in your mind just come up with like, oh well, they deserve it for that reason, this one and this, and that's why they have to just blame Hamas, and just like there's all these things that they do that just like at best they're just at a point of saying like, oh, it's just too bad. We just gotta do this. Like I'm like, sorry, but like it's just like we gotta genocide them. They're like, it's just what do we do? It's really like, I mean, again, I've told you that I have another friend, or kind of a estranged friend, that I was one of my best friends over the course of my life, and they publicly like just went super, it kind of had like a very similar arc to Ethan, but it happened way sooner, and like practically just a few weeks or so or less into all of it. And I don't know Ethan, but I knew that guy, and there was not like he could be an asshole. There's a reason why we stopped speaking, but there was not a bigoted bone in his body. He was so the polar opposite of it. And another thing that maybe I've mentioned, but is just so amazing, is that like, as Ethan was really starting to crash out, and he was just like, there was a higher frequency of him posting about it and saying like weird things. It's just like, it's almost as if the types of things that they were both making TikToks about and Instagramming about and tweeting about, well, Ethan doesn't tweet, but you get me. They were so similar. Like, for instance, like early-ish in his crash out, there's a moment that where he was starting the show, and it happened like really quick, but and it's so it was easy to sort of miss, but it's such a like, what the fuck. Basically, he started out by saying like, hey, you know what, I was just reading that Muslim countries have the highest incidence of female genital mutilation, and like in Egypt, it's and it's just like, it is true. That is true, but there are reasons for it. You can kind of like, I'm not it's definitely something that it is a horrible thing, and we want that to we want to stamp that out. But it's just like, it's similar to somebody starting out by saying, hey, before we start out, guys, everybody ever realize how much more crime blacks commit compared to whites? Which is also true, but we know that there are reasons. There's always reasons behind it. And there's no like real like this is a fucked up thing. It's such a fucked up thing to start out a comedy show with. A comedy show. There's really no comedy these days, but you get me. And like the same person that I'm talking about, like I remember like seeing a tweet. They reposted not Ian Miles Chong, but who is that like weirdo
cat
like
turd?
right wing? What?
Cat turd?
No, not cat turd. This is a this person is a real character. As a matter of fact, back when Ethan was cooler, he debated this guy. He is he's had like all this crazy plastic surgery. He like tried to like get plastic surgery to look Asian, and he had
chat. You know, you have to know who we're talking about.
Yeah, this guy is like such a weirdo. Not like he. Hold on.
I know who you're talking about. I just don't know the name. I can't come up with the name.
Come on, chat. You got to get us. He also
Ollie London.
Ollie London, right? Okay, so
Noah B. There we go.
So my friend retweeted a tweet from Ollie London that, and this is just like one of many things that I think are very similar to what Ethan said. It was just basically a tweet that had it was horrifying. It was I think from Afghanistan, and it was some like woman in a burqa, like totally, you know, with her eyes covered and whatnot, and she was being whipped. She was being whipped by like, you know, some dude, some like soldier.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, you know, he had been like posting about Gaza and Israel, and this was not anything that happened in Gaza. It was, you know, like, and I think that the tweet said something like if Islamization occurs within our you know, within our world, this is what we have to look forward to, or something like that, you know. And it's just like you see the parallel there, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like sort of taking people that something that is removed from the thing, and yeah, it's super racist. But anyway, my point is just that I saw all these similarities in terms of the types of things that they were talking about. Also, like soon after that, he started, like I remember he posted about those pogroms that were not pogroms in
the UK.
Or no. Maybe it wasn't Sweden. Well, was it UK? Basically, like it was after a soccer match. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm thinking of something else.
There was, I want to say it was in Sweden, but maybe it wasn't. It was somewhere in Europe, and basically after a soccer match, that one of the teams were Israeli. Like the soccer team is like.
Oh, I think that was in Amsterdam, right?
Was it in Amsterdam? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
the one that happened pretty recently, right? Where people were saying it was anti-Semitic pogroms going throughout Europe or throughout the city.
Yeah, but it was like the exact opposite. Basically, like the people who were supposedly being pogromed were, I don't know if that's a word, but let's pretend it is, were the ones who were instigating the violence. They were shouting like really like insanely Islamophobic, like genocidal things.
Yeah.
That team is like known for
Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Yes, exactly. So I remember he posted like a bunch of fake news about that, and then didn't bother to like, I remember. Oh, there was this one Instagram that he did in like You're talking about
Ethan here?
Yeah, Ethan. Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm like not being clear, but he so like at a certain point, he didn't take down the ones that had the false information, and he like started saying like yeah, I heard that this is, you know, like that this is you know, that this may not be the way that it's that the Jewish soccer fans who are there, or the Israeli soccer fans, I should say, that they were the ones instigating the violence. But he was like, but still, like, why is everyone enjoying seeing them getting their ass kicked? But then after that, Mehdi Hassan posted something, and he like posted Mehdi Hassan. I'm gonna like sort of not remember this quite clearly. So, but it was something to the gist of this. He said something like because Mehdi Hassan was like trying to explain it, and he was like, I wonder what like motives he has to spin a story like this. It wasn't that, but that was like the point. And of course he was pointing to the fact that Mehdi Hassan is like Muslim, and it's just like the dude has so much at this point just he's so Islamophobic.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm sure that was like a characteristic of him back when he was younger. But again, like I think that again, like this is like this is just me kind of what I feel like I've gathered from human behavior since all this started and whatnot. But I just think that that this, you know, that October 7th and all of the slaughter that Israel has engaged in since then, it could take like a grain of Islamophobia, and if, you know, again, you leaned into Zionism and defending Israel and whatnot, it could just turn that like little grain of or, you know, whatever size grain into just a fucking massive comet-sized ball. It's a really bad way to put it, right? But
no, I mean, you're not wrong though, because it's like it almost feels like he was at October 7th was like a crossroads for him. He was getting more and more progressive, and then that happened, and he was seeing some criticism. He was seeing some things he didn't agree with in Hassan's community, in Hassan's chat, in his own chat at that point. And then he could have either, you know, maybe taken a moment to self-reflect, because he did obviously have internalized Islamophobia living in Israel. Like, I wouldn't blame anyone for having internalized Islamophobia if they're living in Israel and they've swallowed all of the Hasbara, Israeli propaganda living there. And you're told that like the Arabs are the enemy and we have to have strong borders to keep them out. But then it's like, okay, well, maybe I should reflect on that because I'm getting criticized. But he went down the opposite path. It's double down and attack all of the people that have criticized him. And I don't know if you've been keeping up with his show or anything, but
I do.
What? Yeah. One thing that I've been noticing in this last few weeks is how he's going after Hassan for Hassan's supposed anti-Semitism in the exact same way that he is now going after Ian and Anissa for simply being mean to him on Twitter, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that just gives the game away, because when you're going after Hassan and you say that it's because he's spreading anti-Semitism and he supports terrorism and he's even a threat to America, now his community is defending the idea that Hassan got detained by ICE agents at the border when he was trying to come back into America. when you're going after him for these lofty harms that Hassan is committing upon just the American community in general, and then you're going after someone who is not even mean to you on Twitter, but didn't defend you on Twitter in the exact same way with the exact same amount of vitriol and purpose and supposed justification for it. It shows, like, anyone who's looking at this and noticing the way he's going after both these people, I feel like can't really help but notice that the only through line with these two things is that they're criticizing Ethan. And like, is he going to say that Anissa and Ian are spreading the same amount of anti-Semitism and doing the same amount of harm and terrorist support that Hassan is doing? Like, he just exists in a world where it's good for his brand if he's in these constant turmoils. I think that's his personality. Either it always was or it developed into being his personality, where he's a bitter, spiteful person, where he's really likes arguing with people and he thrives off of it. And that was just an excuse to go after Hassan. I really, like, I think that he did feel hurt, and he didn't understand what Hassan was talking about. But then it might have started like that, but it definitely developed into a just like almost a fetish for arguing with someone online and blaming Hassan for all of the criticism that he was receiving.
I think that, yes, I agree with everything that you're saying. I think that there is another side to it, and maybe at the end there you alluded to it, but I do think, like, first of all, I do think, okay, I guess the first thing that I'll actually say is that I don't think that both Hila and Ethan, I don't think either of them know if they're coming or they're going. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't think that, like, I don't think they question. I mean, you know, the term reactionary is such an excellent term to describe what it is, because the thing is that when people get into a reactionary mindset, it's not just a word that, you know, kind of explains what it is. It's like you are literally in a state of constantly reacting without thinking to things, and you know, you have less of you, like, the more reactionary you get, the less thoughtful you get, the less that you are going to,
that's a good point,
like, you know, that you are going to sit down and think things out. And this connects exactly to what I've been saying about, like, when you lean into, like, fascism or a hateful ideology or anything of the sort, you like, it's like your brain starts going limp, because you can't apply critical, like just very, like, fine-tooth comb critical thinking to things, because if you do, you're going to start recognizing, like, oh my god, this, you know, this is the reality. It's not what I want it to be, right? And so I just think that it's just like, people get stupider. Like the friend that I'm telling you about, like, both the friend that I had, and like, like, he was a smart guy, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, I'm sure that there are a variety of things that he's still, like, smart. It's not like he's you know, turned into an imbecile with I imagine, because I don't talk to him, but it's just like the sophistication with which he could talk about similar topics back in the past was really, it was just exceptional. And you hear him talk about these things, and it's just like baby-brained bullshit. Like, how do you how do you actually believe this? Things like, I mean, I don't know. I would have to think for a second to, like, think of some, like, good examples. They're not coming to me, but I promise you there were, like, a ton of them. And it's like you're simultaneously getting stupider. You're simultaneously getting, like, just to be more depressed, darker. I think that like the same person that I'm talking about, like just he looked, I mean, he kind of was someone who was
Depressed.
like kind of depressed, but still like I there was so often like a light in his eyes that you could see, and that like, you know, it's not, I want to make it clear, I did not kind of like really like look at that guy's social media very often at all once we weren't friends.
Mhm.
But once I started seeing him freaking out, I looked at it often, and then also I went back to like think like, you know, he hasn't been in my life for a while. What was he like in, like, you know, the years leading up to this? And again, it's just this like, you know, stark contrast. And so I think that these things, and it really does make sense if you think about it. I think it just really, maybe this sounds hyperbolic, but I think it's exactly what it is. It like it just rots your soul, like in so
Yeah.
many different ways. And like it's also another thing that it did to this person. This is a person, you know, that friend of mine was you know, a hilarious dude, and he could probably still be funny because he's an excellent actor. He could probably be funny if he had like the right scripted material and whatnot. But it's just like so much of the stuff, at least every time that he was trying to do something funny while talking about the Israel-Palestine situation, it was just so dark and cringe, and made everybody like who saw it like retweet and like, you know, just like, oh my god, what is up with this freak, you know? And that's like Ethan was like if he was like on Leftovers, they were so funny together. And you know, and it's like he has lost his comedic spirit. It just feels like they have like and you know what, there have been a few times where Hassan and also I think in a conversation that Hassan had recently with Ian, you know, iDubbbz.
Oh yeah.
There have been a few times where Hassan has said things to the effect of like, you know, I just don't see Ethan there anymore, and iDubbbz kind of said some like similar things. I mean, that was kind of early on with Hassan, when he was like realizing what was actually going on with Ethan. At this point, he's like understandably so like he every now and then he kind of like he talks empathetically like he did for so long about Ethan, but you know, he's kind of like, I think he's been fucked with so much, and he's seen also just such terrible consequences of so much that Ethan has done, that it's hard for, understandably again, for him to kind of like, you know, kind of like have that sort of like more I lost my friend kind of a vibe. But I feel the same way. I just feel like it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so it's so sad. And I think we all have to be like, you know, I'm sure anyone who is watching this right now is like a pretty cool, perceptive, like, you know, down to earth person. But it's just like, this world is getting crueler by the day. And like, you know, it's just, all I'm saying is that we think that we're not susceptible to these things, but it's like, if you were in Ethan's situation, potentially you could be. That's not a, you know, writing him a get out of jail free card at all. He has agency and whatnot, but it's just like, we all have to just like, I think, recognize that we have the capacity to, like, every human has the capacity to lose themselves if they, like, give themselves over to just to, like, what's the word, unjustified hate or something like that. And yeah, so sorry, I don't mean I feel like I'm getting too intense.
You're speaking like an anime villain. You're like the Joker. Everyone just needs one bad day. No, but like,
you hear me though? Like, I mean, I
hear you, but
I'm not saying that everybody is going to do that, but it's just like so many of us can, and just like it's important just to recognize that, like, you know, I mean that's why, like, obviously, like, Israel has the majority of the country seems to just be perfectly fine with genociding the Palestinian civilization, and it's like, obviously it's not anything in the water. It's not anything about who they are, as who they were born as. It's the society and just the whole recipe of things that makes them like that. And so anyway, I'm sorry, I'm probably like babbling. What did you have to say?
Well, no, I was just gonna say something that agrees with what you were saying about, like, how the population of Israel wants to do a genocide, but I think it's something kind of similar with Ethan, where he's cut out all of the voices that are saying to him, "Yo, you're acting weird. Can you stop? Like, you're saying stuff that's like pro-Israel and like pretty harmful." He's cut out all of those voices, and he's chosen to surround himself with voices that say how great he is and how what his stance on Israel is correct. He's like, I think the only way to really either get out of the belief, like these reactionary mindsets, or even to get into reactionary mindsets, is if you bathe yourself in that kind of belief and surround yourself with people who reconfirm those bigoted and reactionary ideals. And unfortunately, I think that Ethan Klein was bathed in that. He lived in Israel. We know that he consumes Israeli media. We know Hila consumes Israeli media. And we saw what he did after October 7th. He ended the podcast. He basically told all of his chatters to, like, go fuck themselves every time they brought up Palestine. Every time he brought up Palestine and did it in a, like, derisive way, like the whole Aaron Bushnell thing, where his chat was yelling at him for, he's slowly pushed all of those voices out, and then he did a finally, like, I was going to say clean, but it was a very messy breakup with Hassan, like, last October, like, official breakup, I guess. But once again, I think that's like when you say, anyone can kind of fall into that, it's like, you're right that they can. And I think that just shows how important it is to try to be a good friend, like what Hassan was trying to do with Ethan, trying to, like, build bridges with people, trying to maintain relationships. Like, maybe you could speak more about your relationship with your friend and your personal experience with that. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, like, at the end of the day, I think that just being an advocate for minority groups in general is just about empathy. And that's something that Ethan Klein simply doesn't have a lot of. He's just, like, has a massive ego, and any kind of criticism against his actions he takes very deeply and personally. That's been my experience. So yeah, maybe just like a healthy dose of empathy is the answer. But what do you think? Does that make sense to you? Like, did you see your friend, like, kind of closing his inner circle off more?
Oh yeah, but it there's no doubt. There's tons of things that he said, and just yeah, there's no doubt, and he was already. I mean, as a successful person in the entertainment industry, which they both are, like it's the easiest situation to kind of, just
Become inaccessible.
close yourself off, and you have so many, you have a lot of detractors, but you also have a lot of sycophants who are very glad that you are just advocating for them and telling you that you're just fucking amazing. I'm sure he's getting a lot of that. And yeah, there was something that you said that I meant to kind of add something to that.
Oh, shoot.
I forgetting. He this is what I was going to say is, like, there's no doubt, like when I say things like this, I'm not trying to like paint some sort of picture of like, he was like a totally amazing and then he became, like it's I'm sure that like especially now that I like see like such a pattern of dishonesty and whatnot, I like look back at some things that I knew that I didn't know that much about, that I had heard that he had like, just dramas that he had, and I haven't like for instance, like the bullshit between him and Trisha Paytas. I still don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is that I look back at those things and I know that there were a lot of times where he took people like her and made her out to be an insane liar. And now, and before all this happened, I just kind of like, I didn't really think that much about it, but I just like with people like her, I took his, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I just thought like, oh yeah, that's probably the situation. Like, and my point is that so he like I've realized, oh yeah, there's a really good chance he was lying about a lot of that stuff. Who knows what was going on there. Yeah. But in spite of that, in spite of the fact that like there's no doubt like there was dishonesty in his past that I was not aware of, and then also like frankly a lot of those like really bad like the majority of the Israel related clips that I have seen from his past I didn't know about. Not that I would be able to like look past those if he bettered himself. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, but my real point here is that in spite of whatever darkness there was like, I mean, because I hear some people kind of say things to the effect of like, oh, like his lefty arc was just like a bunch of bullshit. He like, it was all for clicks. And I definitely don't believe that at all, because I mean, there's a lot of things that lead me to say that. But one is just like, I think to some degree you can't fake a certain like, amount of authenticity and just like, vibes. Like you maybe I'm wrong, but really more than anything, it's like if you look at on his Ethan Klein channel, the one that he has where he like posts like the kind of smaller videos for years, like when he started his kind of redemption arc around like 2019 or so, maybe give or take like a little bit, he would post videos. Like if you look on that channel, there's dozens of videos where he is addressing some bullshit that like, do you know who Blair White is? She's very
anti-trans trans activist.
Yeah, she's trans, but she's like totally MAGA, and she's a horrible human being, and she ends up spreading a lot of transphobic bullshit. And so if you look on that on his channel, he has like tons of videos from around that time where he would like address Joe Rogan, he would address Jordan Peterson, and he would basically like, you know, I think Tim Pool a couple times, and he would take claims that they made, and he had like a pretty good amount of like you know, genuine facts. Like I don't know if doesn't really matter if he to me if he did the research or whatnot, but he sat down and he made like, you know, videos where he just debunked things with facts. And if you look at those videos, like a lot of them have very low view counts. He was not doing those things for just clout or whatever. He was doing them because he felt like it was genuinely the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that he, you know, I mean, I've heard him talk around that time, like he was changing for the better, and he said things that feel very like just honest from around that time, where he like, because before his redemption arc, you know, he like he briefly like hung out with Jordan Peterson and whatnot, and he like was really like leaning into the anti-SJW shit, and basically like he, you know, he there's interviews, or maybe not interviews, but like, you know, podcast moments where he's like saying like, yeah, you know, honestly, I kind of just started getting like kind of worse and worse by virtue of like just doing, you know, like what how I was making my videos, and it got worse over time. I didn't realize like how toxic a lot of that like anti-SJW stuff was, and then Trump got the presidency, and I was like, holy shit, you know, this is terrible. Did I did I at all kind of what's the word,
Contribute to it?
Yeah, contribute to that, and I don't want to be that guy. He you know, there's lots of things where he like said those things, and you know, again, he may have been doing other awful things while that was the case. People are complicated, but he did have a like it. I just do not think that it was like some sort of act. I think that, like, you know, he had his heart into being better, and doing things that were helpful and just positive for, you know,
I
for the
agree.
world.
And like,
and so, yeah,
he's not like grifting. He's not grifting to be a Trumpy right now.
Oh, he will possibly, though.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean,
I wouldn't really be surprised if he does. And it's just that his audience that he's developing is a anti-Hassan, liberal Zionist audience. That's what he's doing. And so I do, like, I don't know, it does seem to be a irreparable shift, like a permanent shift in his audience demographics and the type of people that he's appealing to. Like, you know, when we did that one debate with the fans, that one guy was like clearly from a Destiny debate bro kind of environment, and I think that's who he's really appealing to at this point. Even him going after Ian, I think, is a part of that. iDubbbz. Now that iDubbbz has become more vocally, you know, empathetic, I guess, more vocally of a nice person, I think that's part of it too. And iDubbbz working with Hassan for that video, going on Hassan's stream, I think that's almost given Ethan like the go ahead to target him more.
The other day, by the way, speaking of Trump, the other day he defended Trump and said that he wasn't anti-Semitic.
Ethan did?
Yes.
What podcast was that?
I mean, it was on H3. Like,
No, I know, but like what
probably,
episode?
I don't know, but give me a second and I can probably find it because I think that
Because he's defended Trump in the past. He's said that Trump's tariffs aren't that big of a deal. Yeah, the tariffs thing. He talked about what Trump was doing in Gaza with like the AI video talking about colonizing it, but he said that was crazy. But like he's like, yo, yeah, obviously Trump's not going to do that. Like it's impossible that he's going to do it. I mean, man, that's the other thing. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things to criticize Ethan for, so this might not be the top thing, but the idea that he's in a Trump administration, he's spending most of his time talking about Hassan and other leftists is shocking. Like, if you take a step back and you think about it, a guy who is a self-proclaimed liberal, and you would say he's like a social liberal, whatever that means, and is, according to him, in favor of like welfare programs. The idea that he hasn't said anything about how Trump is dismantling the government, for a guy who is supposedly in favor of freedom of speech and sued so that he could have speech reacting to content be posted on YouTube and make money off of it. He hasn't said anything about the pro-Palestinian students getting deported, people getting arrested and deported and detained out of this country for speaking up and just exercising their First Amendment rights. It's really disgusting, and he's going to sit there and pretend to be a victim underneath an administration that is explicitly backing him up and silencing his enemies. It makes you wonder, like, is he really against Trump? Hey, thanks for the gifted membership, Crotchy.
This is the thing. I mean, there's no doubt that his algorithm is very friendly to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Even if it's just against Hassan, that's still friendly to Donald Trump.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, I mean, if you look at just the network of people who advocate for Israel that are out there, it's like it's either people who are explicitly right wing or people who are pretending that they're not, you know? And like I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say that Destiny, like, obviously anything that he says and does in relation to Israel is fascist and like and thoroughly right wing. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you, because I have been trying to kind of like parse this in my head during the not that debate, but I had another conversation with someone that was like not really a debate. It was just like, you know, just kind of a this person is kind of a friend and maybe even a fan of Lonerbox, but I'm also like friends with them as well. And so they just, you know, it wasn't combative, but basically, and also they just don't know that much about the Israel-Palestine situation.
Wow, a fan of Lonerbox that doesn't know that much about Israel and Palestine.
Well, they're not fans so much. I mean, I kind of don't want to say who it is, because, but like basically, like, they are someone who has an area of expertise in a portion of the world, and they really just focus on that. And I actually think that they are very informed about their, but anyway, the point is that, you know, I said to them that I did not think that either Lonerbox or Destiny were, I said that they could not be like meaningfully left wing and advocate for Israel. And he kind of said, like, are you sure because of this, and this? And I mean, he brought up a few points, and and then I sort of clarified, and I said, like, okay, well, maybe I'm really talking like they can't be leftists, which I suppose they don't claim to be, but like, because leftism is like concerned with it's anti and like it's pro human rights and anti imperialism and shit. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Like, I just think that someone who is super pro Israel, I just can't think of them as like what.
Yeah, I don't really know like Lonerbox's policies, like domestic policies, but yeah, at the end of the day, if you are defending a fascist state, you're not a left winger. It's like at the very least, maybe you could be like a selective left winger, where it's like if you believe that socialist policies, but you can believe in socialist policies, but they only pertain to those in the in-group, those in the like ruling class, basically, which I just don't think is in line with leftist ideology. But, Destiny and Lonerbox, they're, once again, I don't know, they're like domestic policies or really, like, they're anti-Trump, but you can be anti-Trump without being a leftist. And there's plenty of...
Yeah, I just sent you the clip of...
Oh, him. Ethan says Trump? Okay, let me play this clip. But yeah, I guess I don't really buy the argument either that you can be a leftist and say the things you do. Like, Destiny literally said, oh yeah, at the end of the day, Israel's just going to genocide Israel, and I'm okay, and I'm kind of okay with that. That's like, he's like, oh, it's complicated, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of just okay with genocide. It's like, I don't think you can really say that and still call yourself a leftist. But I don't know. What did your friend say? Any like convincing arguments? Here, I'm going to play this Ethan Klein clip though.
I think I would have a hard time like remembering exactly, like quoting them well. So I don't, unfortunately, like I don't want to try because I think I'll just flounder at like recalling their arguments.
All right,
sometimes I'm bad with that, but anyway, are you going to play it?
Yeah.
And like, listen, I am.
Is it playing?
Yeah.
I can't hear.
Oh, wow, there are multiple.
This picture's so hilariously low.
Yeah, go ahead and play it. I don't.
Here, let me tell you another interesting wrinkle with this.
But Trump is not. Trump is
this
like
was 3 days ago.
An anti-Semite. I mean, his daughter is a convert. His son-in-law is Jewish. He's like super pro-Israel. So like, I don't get how.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. He's like, Donald Trump's daughter is a convert. His son-in-law is Jewish, and he's super pro-Israel. And like that's the end of it. He thinks if you're pro-Israel, you're not anti-Semitic definitionally, and if you're against Israel, you are anti-Semitic definitionally. Wow, that's hilarious. I thank you for sending that to me. That is funny. I mean, holy shit. The guy doesn't care about anti-Semitism at all. All he cares about is his own feelings, and if you're critical of Israel, because that hurts Ethan's feelings if you're critical of it. Oh, man.
I've tried to, like the other day, I was thinking, is there a single person that he has gone after that, since all this craziness started, that he is not accused of anti-Semitism or implied it? Like, he implied it with me. And I was thinking, like, everybody, like, even like me, remember that horrible response to Mika's rhetoric that he did? He like, heavily implied that she do you know who I'm talking about? Remember, she was
I remember.
Like, I mean, just like everybody. There's literally only one person that I could think about that I could be wrong, but maybe he didn't with him, and it was the same episode. It was that
Aubrey.
That what's that?
Aubrey Smalls.
Yeah, Aubrey Smalls, the little person's advocate. They maybe he did, but it's just like everybody. He's just like he makes these. These comments of what?
No, I was in touch with Aubrey Smalls because I made a video about it, and he DM'd me on Reddit, and it was just so funny because he didn't. I don't think he accused him of anti-Semitism, but he basically was just like, "Oh, you're a scumbag. You're a piece of shit. You're the one who wanted to come on our show," and then they released these DMs to try to prove that Aubrey knew because Aubrey, it was just this stupid, this whole fiasco with Aubrey Smalls just showed me that Ethan has such a fundamental lack of critical reading, because Aubrey's like, they brought me on to confront a racist person with no warning, and he meant no warning to the racist guy, because they didn't tell him that they were going to bring on a little person, and they were goading him into making jokes about little people. And then they're like, well, we actually have a little person for you here. And then they put Aubrey on, and like the crew's laughing because like the point of the joke is to see his reaction, right? He's like caught with his pants down kind of. And so Aubrey's like, they brought me on with no warning. And then they think that Aubrey said he had no warning that he was going to talk to this person. Like, everyone on the crew took it that way. So then they're like, you're such a fucking idiot. You're a scumbag. You're a total liar. You're just grifting to try to get on this bandwagon of hatred towards us. You actually had a great time here. We have the DMs to prove it. Then they show the DMs and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. That got a little heated in there. I hope you're okay with everything the way it went down. And it's like, your DMs prove that it was a bad experience. It was just so dumb, like all around.
Yeah, that was one of the moments. That episode was one of the episodes where I was like, where I really started realizing, like, oh shit, it's infecting the crew. The crew is now turning into assholes. Maybe some of them were already to a decent degree, but, and I'm not okay. Like, I don't know. I feel really like simultaneously pissed off, but also like really terrible for people like especially like AB. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that there's a lot of people have voiced, especially people in the like, the Arab Palestinian, just that community, have like voiced a lot of just resentment of him, and I'm not like trying to detract from that, but it's just like AB is this guy who he got a dream job. Like, when he got that job, it was a dream job for him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, like I know that it was, and like, just I don't know, like I do think that there is a like he has definitely, all of them have had to kind of support something that's like behavior that's terrible, so they're all like complicit. But it's just like, also Olivia here and there, like, she's such like a super nice person, but like I've seen her here and there just kind of like say like nasty things and take, I mean, I guess that when they were talking about what is his name again, Aubrey Smalls?
Aubrey.
Like, I believe that she had some things to say that were very, right, like, and like I think of her, those on The Simpsons, like when they show Lisa in the future, like the possible vision of her in the future where she's like really grizzled and she's like smoking cigarettes and like, yeah, I had a future once. You know, like things like that. I think of like Olivia like turning into that because she's just like this, like just,
oh my God.
She seems like she started out and maybe to some degree still very much is like just this like, you know, kind of pure-hearted person, but she's like over time, like if she's just like at this job her entire life, that's what she's gonna turn into. She's gonna turn into like the fucking like, you know, dark-sided
don't
future,
start smoking cigarettes, Olivia.
What?
You know, like PSA, don't start smoking, Olivia, whatever you do. No, like it's when it comes to the crew, like I don't really care because they're just there to support Ethan at the end of the day. But it's like, can one person, like when Ethan's just blatantly misreading a situation, or like he played a clip of Hassan and when Hassan's show that was supposed to be satirical, when he was like basically parodying Steven Crowder, and he's like pretending to be some kind of like frat bro, misogynistic kind of like a rapey guy, and Ethan's playing it and he's like, I can't believe how Hassan stopped being a rapist. Like genuinely believing that Hassan used to be a rapist, or like trying to I don't know, like date rape women at bars, stuff like that. And then the crew's just sitting there and they're like, well, I think it's a parody. And he's like, no, I think Hassan's being genuinely serious about this. Like the idea that like no one on the crew speaks up and pushes back against that notion that Ethan's putting out there. It's like, on the one hand, I understand being like an employee and just wanting to keep your head down and get your paycheck, but the content that you're putting out there is suffering as a result of no one speaking up and pushing back against Ethan. But like, Ethan self-selects his crew. He hires people that are fans of his show. So it would make sense that no one really wants to push back against him. But I don't know. That's like, I don't have much criticism for them other than I think they're actually making it less watchable and making the product worse by letting Ethan give in to his insanities on the show. But that's kind of all I have to say about it.
I mean, and then also on top of that, I mean, it's just like, if he had people, we were just talking earlier about how if he had people around him who like just forced him to course correct, you know, people like,
that's part of it too.
And like, yeah. So anyway, listen, it's I'm on. It's about 3:30 a.m. where I'm at, and I still have to do a bunch of stuff before I go to sleep.
Jesus Christ, why did you even come on?
Because I don't know. I have a lot on my mind, and sometimes I like, you know, want to.
Well, I hope this was therapeutic for you then.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed this conversation quite a bit. And I hope everybody out there who's watching at least enjoyed it a teeny little bit.
Yeah. And when you finally get that video done, I'm going to be the first one to watch it.
Okay, awesome. We'll talk behind the scenes. I've got to, like, I have I'm making the video on the friend that I told you about, but I've got another one that I'm fast tracking, and I think everybody here will dig it. I'm calling it right now. You people are going to dig this video that I'm eventually going to make.
All right. Well, I hope you can get to sleep soon. I'm going to go back to watching some Christian fundamentalists talk about if sex scenes in movies are always immoral or not.
Sounds really entertaining. Have a great night, okay?
All right. I'll talk to you later. See ya.
Later.
All right. Well, I want to thank Vadim for coming on. That was fun. Now back to my Christian boys. So actually, you know what? There's a little tiny bit of Ethan Klein stuff that I wanna go over. I was gonna go over the Vadim debate with Hutch, but I think we covered it enough there. What I was looking at was like okay. What the fuck is this? Custer's last stand was worth, we're told. Why does that have 1.3 billion views? So this is what I was going to talk about a little bit, where Ethan Klein spends, let's see, 107 to 2:30, so about an hour and a half talking about the financials of Creator Clash. And the point that I was trying to make with Vadim is that Ethan's going after Anissa and Ian with the same ferocity as he went after Hassan. And if he's trying to say that Hassan's supporting terrorism and he's engendering anti-Semitism in his community, and obviously, like, terrorism is bad, anti-Semitism is bad, he's trying to say Hassan supports that, and so he has a righteous mission to go after him and to call him out and to bring him down a peg or two. When you go after someone else with the same kind of viciousness and hatred as Hassan, and their only sin is being a little mean to you on Twitter, I wouldn't even say being mean to you on Twitter, but like talking with people that were mean to you on Twitter, that undercuts your point. Basically, that just shows that you only care about people if they're mean to you. And Hassan was like kind of mean to you. He wasn't even really kind of mean to you, but Hassan was mean to you. Ian and Anissa were mean to you. And so you're going after them too. So anyway, obviously Ethan doesn't care about anti-Semitism. Obviously he doesn't care about progressive politics at all. All he cares about is his bottom line, how he makes money, and if people are mean to him or not. That's the point I was trying to make. I have no interest at all in talking about the financials of Creator Clash. I don't really give a single fuck. Harvey Morenstein seems like a piece of shit. Never liked his Epic Mealtime channel, but let's just see what this is, because I think this is talking about like Fuad Al-Khatib a little bit. This is hilarious. Okay, we'll watch this later. Yeah, everyone thank Vadim, and we're go show his channel some love, and we're going to be waiting eagerly for him to drop his video, and then we can go and show that video some love as well. Who's to say which is worse? Which is worse, anti-Semitism or just being mean to me? Because Ethan Klein seems to consider both of those the same thing.
And
okay, but this is hilarious. The Hassan donation drama. So Ethan Klein, we didn't really cover this, but because I couldn't watch Ahmed Fuad Al-Khattab a little bit, like any longer than I already did. Okay, but Ethan Klein includes 2 donation links in his video description of last week. And one of the donation links is to the World Health Organization's Gaza tab. The other donation link is to Realign for Palestine, which is basically run by the Atlantic Council and it's just donating to Ahmed. It's just donating to Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib, the guy that Ethan Klein had on. Realign for Palestine is his own personal project. It's just him, like he's the guy running it. And if you donate to that, you're just donating to him. So basically it's like one was the World Health Organization and the other was a GoFundMe for the guest that Ethan brought on, which is a pro-Zionist shill, like he's a grifter. And it was under the donate to Palestine section, like where Ethan included it. So Ethan is being accused of doing charity fraud. And I don't know if you can see it, but the timestamp is the Hassan donation drama. No, dude, you're being accused of charity fraud, not a Hassan donation. It's not a drama that Hassan does with donations. It's your donation drama.
Had a really people connected with him. He was a fantastic.
Oh yeah. We got to rewind
fun
this a
and
bit.
important things. For example, Goss Talk.
Hey.
So which one? I doubt we have time for all three of them. Oh, actually, there's one thing I wanted to just hit on before. I wanted to send my condolences to our previous guest, Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib, who came on our show graciously and had a really...
By the way, this guy was like one of the creepiest people that's been on this show, and his entire shtick was a lot of lefties want to blame Israel, but actually, I'm blaming Hamas for the genocide that's going on. And it was so funny how he was incapable of speaking any kind of negative things that Israel does to the Palestinian people onto the airways at all. He was like, oh, and Hamas kept firing rockets near our neighborhood, and then Israel would come in with the bombs and the drones and the F-16s and yada yada yada. Like, he literally yada 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 Israel bombing his entire family. It's like, brother, Hamas wasn't killing your family. That was Israel, my boy. Like, he was just like, it was like an allergy. It's like he had a mental tic of talking about the war crimes that Israel did.
Connected with him. He was a fantastic guest. He's a Gazan refugee and advocate. And I donated $2,000, $1,000 to his charity and $1,000 to the Gazan food kitchen, which he suggested. And
the Gazan food kitchen, it was the World Health Organization. What Gazan food kitchen is he talking about? They have two links on this. Wait, this isn't the video. I think it was, was this one the video? No, I don't think this was the one. It was this one. It's time for me to listen. I have to sit my white ass down and listen. So let's just really quickly play the timestamp donating to Palestine.
I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have a we have our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button.
Or is there a donate button?
Yeah, so you're certainly folks can website realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button. And
this guy's so creepy, dude.
Certainly folks can donate there, but also I
certainly folks can donate there to his own to his GoFundMe, basically.
I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program.
World Food Program
has a Gaza Appeals page that is dedicated just for here, I'm going to give you the page that is dedicated for sending food just for Gaza, and they are incredibly capable.
Oh, that's great.
What?
That's
so
the world.
They're incapable of what?
So send us both links so we can put them in the description.
Okay. I sent this link. So this is the fundraising arm of the World Food Program, but all money here donated this link goes to the World Food Program for Gaza specifically, and they're basically one of the biggest feeders of Gaza right now at scale. And then I'm going to send you, so you can donate there if you want to feed Gazans, and I'll send you the...
So, I mean, just once again, the fucking idea that the Gazans the people in Gaza are starving because of a lack of aid from the World Food Program is absolutely ridiculous. There are trucks lined up for months trying to get aid into Gaza, and it's been Israel blocking aid to go into Gaza. Oh my God. Once again, like Noah Samson did a fundraiser for UNRWA, which actually has like paid people within Gaza doing charity work, essentially, like working in schools, working in aid distribution centers, doing humanitarian aid in Gaza. If you're going to donate, your money would go further if it was sent to UNRWA rather than the World Food Program. But the idea that even so, like, obviously donating to the World Food Program isn't a bad thing. However, donating to this guy's charity, thinking you're sending your money to help Palestinians in Gaza, that is just straight up a bad thing. He's not pro-Palestinian at all. He refuses to acknowledge that Israel is the one doing the most damage to Gaza, like the most damage, doing like all of the damage to Gaza. He refuses to acknowledge that. He wants to blame the Palestinians for the genocide that Israel is doing. And Ethan is equating donating to this guy's GoFundMe to donating to the World Food Program, which, like we already established, is not the most effective way to help Palestinians. He treats both of these links as the same. He says we're going to put both of those links in the description down below, and then he donates $1,000 to both of these, and the section is titled Donate to Palestine.
Realign for Palestine website that I would love if people can explore. And as you navigate that website, there is there's an option to.
Can you Lena, can you donate 1,000 to each one of those orgs for us? And then
to each one of those orgs.
I hope that other people will join.
It's his own personal GoFundMe, bro.
And
oh my God!
Great to know that there's that.
The World Food Program.
That's it. Yeah, that's really a good recommendation. Yeah,
I know those people for sure. They are like they're like they are getting food into Gaza right now.
That's great.
Those trucks that you hear about.
Yeah.
That's all them.
The trucks.
Okay.
You hear about the trucks in the context of Israel not letting them in.
And that's what.
So there it is. I encourage everyone to support. We're going to send some money to both of those orgs. And
thank you.
Thank you for calling and sharing your perspective. It's really, really nice to talk and to see you. And I've been an admirer for a while. I've been kind of seeing you here and there. So it's nice to connect and
I do see you liking and re-sharing.
Okay, I don't really care about the rest of this. So let's just... Okay, so we have the context. Let's see the rebuttal to the rebuttal.
Hassan and Bad Empanada were immediately...
the Arab food box.
Slander and ruin
yeah,
this
what
man.
did he say it was?
I donated $2,000, $1,000 to his charity and $1,000 to the Gazan Food Kitchen, which he suggested.
The Gazan Food Kitchen.
And Hassan.
How do you screw that up, dude? It was the World Food Program. you know, the fucking kitchens of God, the fucking Arab food place. I donated to that.
And Bad Empanada were immediately out to slander and ruin this man, which is just the irony of that is just unbelievably thick.
It's thick. Okay, so the reason they're slandering him, or as you put it, I would put it covering what he does, is because this fucking freak literally, quite literally on your show said, most people focus on Israel. I choose to focus on the actions of the Palestinians and how those actions got them to this genocide. So maybe it's because he's taking all of the blame off of Israel and putting it on the fucking victims of the genocide. Maybe that's why people are critical of his appearance on your show. But no, I mean, come on, dude. Play some of the criticism that people have of him, please.
Because it's like, actually, you know what? Here's a dude from Gaza who's lost family members, who's actually trying to advocate and raise money, and literally.
Ethan Klein, I never tokenize Arabs. I would never tokenize Arabs.
By the way, when you go back and look at how he's plugging the charities, the emphasis is greatly on the food one. He barely, I force him kind of to plug his, like he didn't even really offer it. His whole thing was like,
no, you don't. Okay, come on. Are you kidding me?
As I work at the Atlantic Council,
he literally brings up the Atlantic Council first. We'll rewind this a little bit more to get the context.
So there are ways in which our allies can support us. Support the mutually beneficial realignment towards the center, towards pragmatism, towards moderation. As again, not kumbaya, let's hold hands, everything's gonna be fine, but as a realistic framework to bring down the temperature and to navigate what seems like a complete mess.
It seems like right now we just...
Honestly, Ethan's such a fucking moron. Like, this is such good corporate speak to just like worm your way into like a corporate speaking gig, or to just spout bullshit up your boss's ass so they think you know what you're talking about. So we need to come together back into the center, and we need to realign towards pragmatism and normalcy. Yeah, we need to have mutual realignment so that we can bring down the temperature, not so that we can sit in a circle, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya, but because we need to have a realistic framework towards a mutual cohabitation with each other. And Ethan's like, this is so deep. Thank you for coming on. Please let me give you my money. Like, Ethan is the fucking archetype of a shitty boss who thinks he's so smart and is actually an idiot. And he just gets played by grifters that he lets come in and give speeches to the staff in order to bring people together and realign your chakras so that we can work better as a team. It's so fucking gross. No, dude, you know what we need? You know what's such a radical idea? Maybe this would bring you to the center. Maybe this would bring together realignment. We need Israel to stop bombing Palestinians. How about that? Is that a radical, pragmatic enough solution for you? Or do you just want Hamas to, I don't know, self-nuke Gaza? Would that be better? Synergy.
Just need to find a way to end the war, because...
Even Ethan, he's like, oh no, I think we just need to end the boss. Like, he calls it the war. I'd call it the genocide. I can't believe he's calling it a war at this late date. But no, even Ethan sees through this guy's bullshit.
Towards moderation.
This might have to be a soundbite. I might have to record this.
Support support the mutually beneficial realignment towards the center, towards pragmatism, towards moderation. As again, not kumbaya, let's hold hands, everything's gonna be fine, but as a realistic framework to bring down the temperature and to navigate what seems like a complete mess.
It seems like right now we just need to find a way to end the war, because everybody's just been pushed to the fringes, you know. It's like
we end the war, but we make sure we don't end it in a way that Hamas is still in control, because that's going to be a disaster for the people of Gaza.
Oh, that would be a disaster for the people of Gaza. Not that Israel is fucking nuking Gaza in terms of the amount of TNT worth of bombs they've dropped on it. Bro, this guy's such a fucking monster. Holy shit. Ethan found the one person that's worse than him.
Guys, I will gladly come back and talk about different theories and works. In fact, I had like a 4-hour discussion with someone today on a workshop. So as I work at the Atlantic Council,
I think Ethan's actually getting gross vibes from this.
But also I run Realign for Palestine.
He brings that shit up first. Ethan didn't ask him about like to donate or where do you work? Please tell me where you work. He brings it up first. Holy shit. He knows that Ethan's about to kick him off of this show. And then he brings it up to plug himself. And then as a cover, he brings up the World Food Program. Oh my God. Oh my God, dude.
That's for another podcast. I will gladly come back and talk about different theories and works. In fact, I had like a 4-hour discussion with someone today on a workshop. So as I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council. And I have a, we have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button.
Dude, he's literally plugging his own shit. Yeah, also Jake Jones, that's a great point. Hamas proposed a peace plan where they would relinquish control, and because that involved letting Palestinians stay in Gaza, that was unacceptable. But anyway, so yeah, these people have nothing. They have absolutely nothing to stand on.
Council, and I have a, we have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button. And I
need to search something up. Okay, hold on. This might be
I will gladly come back and talk about
this might be a little mean. Chat, tell me if this reference is off base.
different theories and works. In fact, I had like a 4-hour.
Hold on, I need to get this.
Discussion with someone today on a workshop. So as I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have a, we have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button. And yeah, so like you're certainly folks can donate there, but also I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program.
Okay, wait. I'm just
fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have a we have like our own...
just the belching is a little reminiscent.
Somebody lost a hand or a foot, I toss it in the soup.
Well, that's all a lie. There was no soup. No. There's no sweatshop. Excuse me. I gotta go to the camp.
There is an Atlantic Council where I run Realign for Palestine.
Standalone on a workshop. So as I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have a, we have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is
like his body's like physically rejecting just the grift. It's like his body is it's screaming out, please notice that this is a grift that I'm doing.
A donate button. And
he belches like 4 or 5 times.
Certainly folks can donate there, but also I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program has a Gaza Appeals page that is dedicated just for here, I'm going to give you the page that is dedicated for sending food just for Gaza.
Anyway, so no, Ethan does not have to coax out where he works. He volunteers it because he's a grifter, and that money goes directly to him.
Like, donate to this force. The emphasis is, and literally, by the way, when you go back and look at how he's plugging the charities, the emphasis is greatly on the food one. He barely, I force him kind of to plug his, like, he didn't even really offer
Like,
it. His whole
just
thing was like, donate to this food.
He lives in a delusional land.
And so they're, you're not going to believe the shit that they're saying about him. It's unhinged, dude.
So
it's evil.
Ahmed Fuad Al.
Like, does Ethan not understand that his VODs are still up on YouTube? Does he not realize that people can look that up and fact check him in real time?
Khatib, okay, is a propagandist for Israel.
He's not.
Apparently, Ethan fucking had him on his broadcast.
This might be.
And then
I love the rebuttal from Ethan and Ela. Like, which is more powerful, Ethan's snort of derision or Ela's like lackluster, soulless? He's not. Like, which is a better rebuttal from these two?
literally turned around and made it for Israel.
He's not.
Apparently, Ethan fucking had him on his broadcast.
This might be.
And then literally turned around and made it seem as though they were fundraising. Told his audience that they were fundraising for Palestinians in Gaza. Okay?
Now, can someone timestamp from the episode when that happens? Because I'll pull it up in a minute.
It's really crazy how Hassan just doesn't want us to help Gazans.
He does, yeah, right. I mean, at this point, I've donated, I think, a pretty significant amount of money between all the different causes, over 10,000 for sure. I know there's no amount that would seem significant to the detractors, but.
Oh my God.
Like, leave it to him to find a way to get upset.
Bro, that was a perfect opportunity for Ethan to go. I know there's no amount that would stop genocide or would actually alleviate people suffering in Gaza. But no, he has to make it about himself. I know there's no amount that would let people get off my back. So are you donating just so that people stop yelling at you, Ethan? Just way to tell that you don't actually give a fuck about anything. Way to let people know that you don't care about Palestinians at all. Oh my God, this guy is such a dark human being.
About that,
but calling a Gazan advocate who,
bro, he's so racist. He's so racist. First of all, he doesn't call him a Palestinian. Notice that. Like, he calls him a Gazan. Secondly, you think that just because you're Muslim or because you're Palestinian, you can't advocate for things that are bad for Palestinians, or you can't be a pro-Israeli propagandist? Like, this is why he brought up the idea that Mudahar was Muslim so many times. He's like, Noah Sampson's so racist because he said you, a Muslim, are doing Israel propaganda. I can't believe how racist Noah Sampson, a white person, is. How can you tell me, a Jewish person, that I shouldn't feel the way that I do? And then he does the same thing about Israel. I'm from Israel. You have no relation to the land of Israel at all. Why would you think you know anything you're talking about? Like, he's just a fucking racist piece of shit. All of that is like race realism, anti-empiricism, the idea that your knowledge and your intent, your knowledge and what you advocate for is inherent to where you're born and what kind of genetic material you're composed of is just racist. It's just reactionary thinking. There's not much more to be said, but I just can't believe that he's this much of a racist person. Like, this is like 1800 style racism. Is he going to start feeling for bumps on the skull of Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib when he comes back? He's going to be like, interesting. Your skull flares here while mine flares here. It must be because of my 99% Ashkenazi genetic makeup while you are Palestinian. This must be your Palestinian empathy button. Like, this is the motherfucker who brought up that it's so much more difficult for him and Gila to be against the genocide because they lived in Israel, because they're Israeli. Like, he just thinks that your political positions is inherent to your genetics.
He's lost 20 family members
and actively still losing people.
He was mourning the death of one of his cousins who had just died in an IDF airstrike. And Hassan is calling him a fucking Israeli asset. It's mad.
Fundraiser was for
maybe you want to listen to what Hassan
directly.
says.
All proceeds went to the fucking Atlantic Council.
So that's just a straight up defamatory outright lie.
Oh, it's
He
defamatory.
Presented it as though he was fundraising for the fucking Palestinians in Gaza. I cannot imagine
100% outright defamatory lie.
something more gross than this.
Okay, so Ethan, if all of the proceeds sent to the Atlantic Council don't help Palestinians, that's one lie, right? That Hassan could say. But if they do help Palestinians, then how would it also be a lie for Hassan to say he presented it as if they would help Palestinians? Those two things can't both be lies. Oh my God. Ethan doesn't even know what he's arguing at this point.
I can't imagine anything more gross than what you do.
Okay, so let's just take a look at Atlantic Council. Atlantic Council, shaping the global future together. Issues, politics and diplomacy, about programs, get involved for media. What do we got? Israel, Africa Center, maybe it's Middle East Center. I guess I don't really know what. Let's just insight. I mean, obviously, Middle East, Israel. As a strong ally in the Middle East, Israel's domestic policy and geopolitical role are of primary concern for the United States. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has confounded one administration after the other. That's one way of putting it. It confounded the administrations, with various attempts at brokering a peace falling short of success. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because Israel's broken all of the ceasefires, but as Israel inches closer to the east with increased economic cooperation with India and China, as well as semi-discrete displays of engagement with Gulf neighbors, Israel's independent foreign policy and controversial domestic policies continue to shape its relation. So basically, the Atlantic Council serves to strengthen Israel's relationship with the United States? Is that what I'm seeing here? Israel's dramatic gains on Iran present a historic chance and an enormous risk. Israel may now have escalation dominance over Iran and its proxies, but a new bipartisan Atlantic Council report underscores why both Israel and the United States need a strong and long-term strategy. Okay, so this is just the idea of Israel must remain the United States' base in the Middle East. Experts from across the Atlantic Council are providing insight and analysis at speed and in depth on the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack, Israel's response, and how the emerging conflict is upending the Middle East and the world. Yeah, if your focus is on how the conflict is upending the world, then you're pro-genocide because you're just fine with that happening, and instead you're focusing on the ramifications of doing a genocide. Okay, so yeah, this is just like a pro-Israel United States imperial, pro-Israel United States imperialism. That's kind of what this is, and just doing propaganda for it. Could Trump be mediator-in-chief for Turkey and Israel and Syria? Where's the fucking anti-genocide articles? Gazans fear famine amid Israel aid bloc. The idea that this is not framed as Israel causing famine, but instead it's framed as the Gazans are at fault for fearing the famine. Those silly Gazans. Why wouldn't you just stop being faminized? What is this? Do we have this shit? Nothing has entered Gaza. It's a humanitarian catastrophe. Oh, it's a humanitarian catastrophe. Catastrophe on the true meaning of the word. We never could have imagined this. The voice note comes from one of the social workers assisting with the International Aid Network for Relief and Assistance. We had been distributing rice. Okay, so anyway, basically it's like one article about Gazans starving. And it is no secret that Israel has weaponized humanitarian aid to ostensibly pressure Hamas. Yeah, to pressure Hamas. Like, that's all you need to know, right? They're doing it to get to Hamas. They're doing a war crime to get to Hamas. Not to do ethnic cleansing, which is their stated goal, but to pressure Hamas. Yeah, absolutely insane. So yeah, I think it's totally right to say that donating to the Atlantic Council is going against the material conditions of Palestinians. Like, you're supporting a rag that publishes articles talking about you as a foregone conclusion of a dead people.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, and by the way, this is...
Yeah, of course Hila doesn't know what they're talking about, because she's a fucking dunce. Come on. Even your fashion makes you look like an idiot.
More gross than what you do.
Things. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, and by the way, this is... You guys who have watched this, his guest slot really resonated with people. So you guys can see for yourselves what a poisonous, hideous, venomous, hateful ideologue this man is.
Wally has Bad Empanada too on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. The great freedom fighter Bad Empanada, who ironically, unprompted, Ahmed was like, "Oh yeah, Bad Empanada's been trying to ruin my life."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh wow, you too."
He called him Mr. Empanada.
But no, Hassan's gonna pull him up, no problem.
Bad Emma Panda.
Bad Emma Panda.
Did he go after you too, Harley?
Are you gonna play the clip?
It is
yeah,
crazy.
he did. He said some crazy shit to me. And then I saw like around the same time that I had all on like YouTube videos and Instagram posts, people were writing a bunch of dumb stuff. So I think he told them to go do.
Well,
did he say you are what you eat?
You quit because of and your Zionistic dedication to me and the state of Israel, I think, was the implication.
Yeah. And you paid me.
And I that's new information, but yeah, I know I paid you. Yeah.
Different theories and works. In fact, I had like a 4-hour discussion with someone today on a workshop.
Oh, so they already cut in.
So I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have a...
Like, they're literally playing the clip of him bringing up his job at the Atlantic Council, and that they can donate to him before he talked about the World Food Program. They're playing that clip, which... I mean, I know Ethan doesn't really give a fuck about what he says, but this directly refutes what Ethan just said.
We have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button. And yeah, so like certainly folks can donate there, but also I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program has a Gaza Appeals page that is dedicated just for here, I'm going to give you the page that is dedicated for sending food just for Gaza. And
now, by the way, this actually I found like a really beautiful and helpful recommendation, because it's always hard to decide like what's the best way to help these people. And for an advocate here who knows people in Gaza, has lived in Gaza, to be like, this is the best place.
Absolutely.
And someone who's critical of Hamas too. So like, I feel like this is coming from only the best place possible to help the people there. And so I was quick to support and recommend other people support it as well. But they completely exclude that part and just accuse him of being a Mossad asset.
They are incredibly...
Bro, Ethan, you donated $1,000 to him. You donated $1,000 to the Atlantic Council underneath his Realign for Palestine just like website that he made. You treated those as equal. You posted both of those links. The assumption from your show was that both of those had an impact on Palestinians in equal amount. You told your producer to donate $1,000 to each of them live on stream. And now you're gonna... Oh, they ignored the fact that I donated $1,000 to the World Food Program. Well, you also donated $1,000 to his own personal slush fund, dude. Like, are you going to ignore that part? Like, holy shit. That's what people are getting critical of you for. It's not that you had a link to the World Food Program's Gaza Fund. It's that you also had a link to this guy's anti-Palestinian personal slush fund. And you treated that as the exact same as donating to the World Food Program and said donate to Palestine.
Incredibly capable.
Oh, that's great. What, that's
so
the world.
Yes, I just dropped it.
So send us both links so we can put them in the description.
Yeah, I sent this link. So this is the U.S. This is the fundraising arm of the World Food Program, but all money here donated to this link.
Yeah, we've seen this. We know.
He says it very, very clear.
Yeah. No, they're liars, and
they're liars.
And this is just defamatory. Like, it's just actual defamatory. So the reason I bring it up is because Ahmed put out a statement.
Wait, why didn't they watch the rest of that video? What the actual hell? Bad empanada. I don't know what channel it was on. Was it on Bad Empanada or like Worse Empanada? What's his other channel? Bad Empanada, the Abundance Movement, Death Cult. Where's the fucking, where's the video of that guy, Mohammed, or Ahmed, not Mohammed? Here. Wait, no, that's not it. Oh yeah, this one. Stealing Gaza donations.
So this might be the worst thing that I've seen the H3 podcast do so far, and that's obviously saying a lot. They are scamming people into donating £4.
Can donate there, but also, I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program has a Gaza Appeals page that is dedicated just for here. I'm going to give you the page that is dedicated.
So you can see here that Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib recommends donating to his own personal vanity page on the Atlantic Council website before he even mentions an actual organization that does something for Palestinians, the World Food Program. He sort of phrases them like they're the same thing.
For sending food just for Gaza. And they are incredibly capable.
Oh, that's great. That's the world.
Yes, sir, I just dropped it.
So send us both links so we can put them in the description.
I sent this.
Check out Ahmed's org Realign for Palestine here. It's linked in the description. So let's go to the Realign for Palestine website. This is a website that's literally just...
Anyway, so I guess he just goes over the Realign for Palestine website. It just says the same kind of meaningless word salad drivel that Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib said on the Ethan Klein podcast. So yeah, we don't really need to go over that anymore. But yeah, notice how he doesn't play any more of that, and he just cuts it off when he's like, "Oh, see, he said to donate to World Food Program. We can keep going."
Twitter that first, and
says it.
The World Food Program, but all money here donated to this link.
Yeah, we've seen this. We know.
He says it very, very clear.
Yeah. No, they're liars, and this is just defamatory. Like, it's just actual defamatory. So the reason I bring it up is because Ahmed put out a statement on Twitter that I wanted to read on his behalf because I want to support him against this insane hate campaign that they've leveled against this guy.
I want you to know my mom never sends me tweets. She actually sent me this today.
Why is this guy still on the show? Hang up on him. You started talking with him like 2 hours ago. What's he gonna do? Make you like a triple bacon sandwich with 3 raw onions in the middle of it?
Me this today. Whoa. The whole tweet at 1:33 my time.
That is interesting.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So if you guys would follow and support him, amplify this. My hope is that Hassan will at least react to this, acknowledge it, potentially be like, I was wrong, you know?
Come on.
Like, I fucking said this guy was basically committing charity fraud. And I didn't mention that he was actually mostly pushing a food aid.
He was not mostly pushing a food aid, bro. He literally brought up his own personal slush fund first. And then in order to save face, he brought up the World Food Program. Oh my god. Now Ethan's narrative, he was mostly pushing a food aid. By the way, he didn't accuse Ahmed of doing charity fraud. He accused you of doing charity fraud. Because you said donate to Palestine. And you included a guy whose express purpose is to defend Israel. You included his charity as an equal charity to the World Food Program. And oh my god, you donated, bro, you donated $1,000 to both. You included a link to both. You're like, okay, yeah, those both seem like great causes.
Like 90% food aid. So let me read it. Right as I was knee-deep in grieving the killing of a family member in the Gaza Strip by an Israeli airstrike, not to mention helping dozens of friends and allies deal with unprecedented hunger disaster in the coastal enclave, Hamas transnational armies of terrorists, grifters, pedophiles, and liars, and agents of anti-Semitism and hatred were launching a multi-front campaign to cause me maximum harm and distract from my ability to do...
What the fuck is he talking about, bro? Okay, this reads like a fan fiction. Hamas's transnational armies. Not masses, not groups. It's transnational armies of terrorists, grifters, pedophiles, what the fuck? Liars, and agents of anti-Semitism and hatred. Bro, are these like community badges that you can get if you subscribe to his Substack long enough? You can become this agent of anti-Semitism and hatred? What is he talking about? We're launching a multi-front campaign to cause me... This guy's awesome. I fucking love this guy. He just... he says so many words without saying any actual meaning. A multi-front campaign to cause me maximum harm and distract from my ability to do work that truly matters. What work? What work? Have a speaking role at some kind of Zionist function? To talk about how much Hamas is to blame for the genocide that's going on, that Israel's carrying out? Yeah, are you going to say that the Israeli airstrike was caused by Hamas? Is that what you're going to say? It's just absolutely insane, man. Look at this. He says, my family member was killed by an Israeli airstrike, but let's talk about how much I'm suffering due to Hamas's transnational armies. Just the victim complex is on another level. I know Ethan loves to play the victim, but he should take notes from Ahmed, because this guy he's a pro. He's a pro at playing the victim. Your family member was killed by an Israeli airstrike and you're complaining about Hamas's transnational armies of people being mean to you online. Bro, your cousin or your family member was killed by Israel. But no, people are mean to me, so Hamas is the worst evil.
Work that truly matters. I think he's kind of on point. Mm-hmm. We talk about people like Hassan as we say, oh, he's a propagandist or he's whatever, this and that. He's an ideologue. He is part of Hamas transnational army of propagandists. This man is working on behalf of Hamas. If this man is working on behalf of Hamas,
okay. So remember when Ethan got all pissy because Hassan said he was working with the ADL. So now he's saying Hassan is working on behalf of Hamas. Okay. And that's not Islamophobic at all, right? But it is anti-Semitic. Oh my God, Sunset. Did he? But it is anti-Semitic if someone says Ethan is working with the ADL. Oh my God. Hassan is working on behalf of terrorists, everyone.
Especially, by the way, if you want to be like Ethan's partner with the ADL.
Okay. So yeah, you can see this comparison that I drew.
Partner with the ADL, my friend, then you are in Hamas. You are partnered up with Hamas.
You're in Hamas. Oh my fucking god, dude. He just said Hassan's in Hamas. Oh my god. Okay, Hassan is working on behalf of Hamas. Hassan is in Hamas.
My friend, and I really appreciate the way he's phrased this. Hamas, transnational armies of terrorists, grifters, pedophiles, liars, and agents of anti-Semitism. YouTuber Ethan Klein hosted me on his podcast and donated $1,000 to each the World Food Program's Gaza Appeal, and to Realign for Palestine, my project at the Atlantic Council, an umbrella nonprofit think tank org in Washington, D.C., where I work. An Australian terrorist hiding in Argentina, I love that, who goes by the name of Bad Empanada, made a video claiming I'm laundering money to Israel and the Atlantic Council, sending hordes of his deranged followers to attack me. One of those deranged followers, incidentally, being Hassan. It didn't help that Hamas chief this is also very good. It didn't help that Hamas's chief propaganda officer in America, Turkish-American Hassan Piker, piled on to rile up Hamas's transnational terrorists into a frenzy against me. What followed was, yeah, you agree. What followed was a despicable series of attacks and actions. Hordes of complaints got my Facebook personal account, where I had 20,000 plus followers, removed, disabled by Meta. Additionally, a group of pro-Hamas fans of the Bad Empanada and Hassan Piker filed FBI complaints against me and Ethan Klein. I don't know if I ever even showed that on the show. Did we?
I don't know.
There was, yeah, we did. I think we did. Saying that I'm a front for money laundering to Israel. What's ironic is that almost a year ago, a leftist Russian Iranian rag ran a hit piece against me, claiming that Israel government was paying me $30 million to promote genocide. And when that failed to undermine me, I'm now supposedly funneling money to Israel via the Atlantic Council. This is what supporting terror does to people's...
What? What's ironic is that almost a year ago, a leftist Russian Iranian rag ran a hit piece against me, claiming that the Israeli government was paying me $30 million to promote genocide. I'm now supposedly funneling money to Israel via the Atlantic Council. Well, I mean, you're doing propaganda for Israel via the Atlantic Council. I'd like to see what Bad Empanada actually had to say on that. But I love how he's like, people are saying that I'm pro-Israel, and that's so ironic because a year ago, a Russian Iranian news outlet said that I was pro-Israel, that I was paid by Israel. That's not ironic. That's corroborating evidence.
Brains, zero critical thinking, lies, manipulation, brainless followers. What's hilarious is that the people...
The pedophile.
What's hilarious is that the pedophile Empanada's video literally had a donation link to support him throughout his video.
Oh my
and he's
God.
talking about me sending donations to Israel. Ask yourself, why isn't an Australian, a Turk, a...
And what's hilarious is that the pedophile Empanada's video literally had a donations link to support him throughout the whole video. I mean, oh my God. You made it seem like donating... I mean, he's just admitting that those donations were to himself, right? He's like, oh, Bad Empanada. What's so funny is that Bad Empanada was getting mad at me for having donations go to me, but he was having donations go to him in his video. So why is he getting so mad? Well, now you're admitting that that donation is going to yourself, because otherwise why would you draw the comparison between a fucking Patreon or YouTube Premium subscription link on a YouTuber's video to your Realign for Palestine donation link? Like, why would you draw that comparison if those donations weren't going to you personally? And the reason that people are getting mad at you for doing that is because you made it seem like donating to that link would help Palestinians, not one Palestinian, you. Like, people thought that that was going to help the ones that were getting genocided right now, right? That's not the case. It was a personal link, essentially a GoFundMe for your own personal needs and desires. So, I mean, Ethan Klein is reading a crash out post that this guy probably made at like 2 a.m. as some kind of well thought out takedown of Vadim, Panada, and Hassan. This is all schizo posting. Like, this was not well thought out. This is just a guy super angry, and he's just like, oh, and a year ago someone else said that I was getting money from Israel, but now apparently I'm giving money to Israel. That's so funny. And isn't it hilarious that Vadim Panada is asking for donations in a video that he's criticizing me of asking for donations in? Wow, I can't believe that. And now, like, Vadim Panada is a pedophile and Hassan's like a Turkish terrorist. Like, oh my god. Ask yourself, why are an Australian, a Turk, and a Malaysian going out of their way to attack a Gazan American? Like, he's literally just like, I'm a Gazan. I can't be criticized by any of you because you're not Palestinian. You're Turkish and Australian and Malaysian. You're just being racist. Is Ethan going to read that and actually act like that's a good point?
Malaysian, I was wondering who he's referring to. He was referring to the guy who filed the fake FBI report.
Got it.
It's not a fake report. It's a real report. What do you...
Going out of their way to attack a Gazan American. How is it that, as Hamas is being rejected en masse by the people of Gaza, a transnational cocktail of terrorists, online influencers, gamers, alleged pedophiles, and Southeast Asians are trying to out-Palestine an actual Palestinian? This is the disease and the mental illness that attracts so many to the pro-Palestinian cause, a just and urgent cause worthy of helpful and impactful allies, not losers and imbeciles who have no business talking about this issue in the first place. It's time to confront Hamas transnational terror armies that are lurking everywhere. I say again, Hamas is severely weakened and loathed and is being rejected by massive swaths of Gazans desperate. Their desperate population. However, Hamas, the idea, not unlike Al-Qaeda and ISIS, is well and thriving among a transnational group of people who are inciting the next generation of terrorists. Most terribly, transnational...
I mean, it's just so disgusting because it's basically saying if you... Like, you're a terrorist based off of your thoughts. That's what the guy's saying. And once again, Ethan hasn't spoken up at all about the detentions of people based off of their freedom of speech. He hasn't spoken up at all about that because he's in favor of it. He's in favor of thought policing people when they're critical of Israel. And now he's reading on his podcast someone whose expressed position is, if you are critical of Israel, you are doing terrorism. This is a brand of Hamas terror. So just like, if you're critical of Israel, you're part of the Hamas terror network. That's literally what Ahmed is writing, and Ethan is reading that out to his audience. How many people watch this? Like a couple 100,000? His audience of a couple, almost 500,000 people watching this completely uncritically. So, like, of course they're going to support Donald Trump deporting people and detaining people, blackbagging them who are critical of Israel. Ethan says it's anti-Semitic, so why would they not do that? And why would they not be like, you know, like, I'm all for freedom of speech, but if you're doing dangerous thoughts, then we should kill you, or we should detain you, or deport you out of this country. Their podcast host is supporting all of that.
Support for Hamas is destroying any hope that genuine and sincere pro-Palestine advocacy can obtain meaningful gains to actually move this issue forward. So that would be Ahmed's response to these insane, slanderous attacks against him. Absolutely just tasteless
insane.
And disgusting. So my hope is that Hassan at least
deranged
would be like, okay, at least be like, okay, he actually was mostly raising money for Gaza World.
Bro, that was not a response. That was a rant. That was just you being mad that people were criticizing you. How does Ethan read that and think that's an actual, like, defendable, well thought out, coherent, rational response to anything? It's not. He's just like, oh my God, how could a Turk talk to me, a Palestinian, about how I should feel about Gaza? Like, what? You have no right to talk about this anyway. Like, that was just a fucking crash out.
So, also, just really briefly, I want to give a shout out to Noah Sampson's new sponsor. He gave
the two main stories related to
the best plug ever for Ground News. You guys are going to love this. He's been working with them, I've noticed, for a while. And again, this is not me calling out the sponsor. This is me calling out his copy read, which is fantastic. You'll agree. It's very funny.
The two main stories related to this shooting were covered by nearly 1,000 separate outlets. One of these stories, looking at the charging of the suspect with murder of a foreign official, received coverage from nearly 300 outlets. And each one of these 300 can be sorted and categorized using Ground's tools. Ground offers a
I'm so glad Ethan is covering this because I saw it on his Reddit. He's ripping this right off of his Reddit. So, you know, this is a show curated by his fans, basically, but it's so dumb. The idea that they think this is a gotcha on Noah Samsen is honestly kind of scary based off of their lack of just understanding of their basic comprehension skills of media, or of just like listening to people and understanding what they're saying. Like, look at this. I'm gonna let this play.
biased distribution visual for each story, and a summary of the main points from each political perspective, as well as a coverage comparison between the outlets. With this story, there isn't really much a divergence on one of the key points, which is the motives of the shooter. Both sides seem to agree that the attack was motivated by anti-Semitism, and I'm not sure that's the case, and I'll explain why in a moment.
So Noah Samsen, who, by the way, knows nothing, who anytime it comes to some kind of historical reference, he goes, watch a...
Bro, you just said that Trump's not anti-Semitic because he supports Israel, and now you're going to try to say that Noah Samsen knows nothing?
Bad empanada video, if you want the details. Mm-hmm. He goes, the entire media apparatus, despite their collective and massive differences, have all come together with one obvious consensus that the DC attack was motivated by anti-Semitism. Well, I, Noah Samsen, stand in stark contrast to tell you that my sponsor, Ground News, despite their best efforts, is still lying to you.
I'm not sure
it wasn't.
Oh my God. Well, wait, is Ethan going to get pushback on this? Because he's actually a fucking idiot. Like, once again, Noah Samsen didn't say that Ground News was wrong. Ground News was accurately portraying the landscape of the media when it came to that issue. It was accurately portraying that, yeah, leftist or like liberal news was reporting it as anti-Semitic, and conservative news was reporting it as anti-Semitic. Noah Samsen didn't say that Ground News is wrong. Liberal news isn't saying it's anti-Semitic. He said that I disagree with the media that's reporting it as that. I disagree that it was anti-Semitic, not that I disagree with Ground News and the landscape is incorrect. The landscape is actually different from what you're reporting it as. Like, holy shit. Let's see if Ethan actually gets pushback on this.
Points, which is the motives of the shooter. Both sides seem to agree that the attack was motivated by anti-Semitism, and I'm not sure that's the case, and I'll explain why in a moment.
So Noah Samsen, who, by the way, knows nothing, who anytime it comes to some kind of historical reference, he goes, watch a bad empanada video if you want the details. Mm-hmm. He goes, the entire media apparatus, despite their collective and massive differences, have all come together with one obvious consensus that the DC attack was motivated by anti-Semitism. Well, I, Noah Samsen, stand in stark contrast to tell you that my sponsor, Ground News, despite their best efforts, is still lying to you.
I'm not sure
it wasn't anti-Semitism.
And I'm not sure that's the case, and I'll explain why in a moment.
So that was just hilarious. Wow. A great copy read, Dan.
Like, does he think that Ground News writes its own articles and comes up with its own conclusions on news stories? Does Ethan actually think that Ground News also came out and said that the shooting was motivated by anti-Semitism? Here, read our article about this. Like, he realizes Ground News is a summary of other news articles, right? It's not to actually give you its opinion of the news. It's to give you what the news landscape is, so you know any kind of gaps in your knowledge and your perspectives on certain stories. Like, Ethan Klein realizes Ground News isn't saying that it was anti-Semitic or it wasn't anti-Semitic. It's just saying that all of the media is calling it anti-Semitic, and Noah's saying the media is wrong, not the fucking thing he was doing an ad read for was wrong. Like, how Stupid is he? How stupid is he? How stupid is he? That's all I can say. And how stupid are the fucking people in his chat or in his group? None of the producers are going to step up?
You think I'm bad at copy reading? Holy smokes. You don't think that, but sometimes I go off the rails, right? Like, this is off the rails. You know what I mean? Like, this redefines off the rails. So shout out to my boy there.
He's just trying so hard, too.
An inspiring off the rails moment. That
he's trying
even
so
I can
hard.
Appreciate. So we got, like, let's say 30 minutes, Olive.
Oh man, he's such a darkened soul. No, anyway, he's just stupid and he's evil and he's trying really hard to make Noah Samson look like a fool when he's trying so hard to be funny, and you can tell that he's just in a spiteful mood and he thought it would be funny. It's not really funny. And it just ended up being like dark. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up soon, but I just needed to finish talking about this because this was hilarious. If Ethan is an expert, why don't Zionist networks call him? That's a good point. I don't think that Zionists really want him to be representing them because he is actually stupid. Like, there's a lot of Zionists and they're well-spoken. I think Ethan's actually kind of a fucking moron, and he's just brain broken by the internet, and that's the world that he exists in, and that's really all he can argue in. All right, we're going back to these fucking two old freaks. Where was that soundbite where he's like, it's okay to watch child porn?
Where a couple go to an Airbnb and they're out on the back deck and they've had, which objectively isn't pornography, but could subjectively be pornography for the sake of identifying. A man could watch child pornography and it be a good thing. What do I mean? The police officer, who, I'll say it really quickly, right?
I need that as a soundbite.
That could subjectively be that to him, but not necessarily. So, like, to stretch it and to say it even more aggressively, a man could watch child pornography and it be a good thing. What do I mean? The police officer, who, I'll say it really quickly.
This is so funny. Okay, let's just finish up this video and then I gotta go to bed.
Of what I'm watching, it's corrupt because that's not what happens when you fall in love. You don't. It's not always the moment that you go to bed.
Oh wait, shit! One more thing about Ethan Klein. Like, I needed to watch this. This was posted in his chat 2 hours ago. 86 views or 86 upvotes. Okay, so skateboarder gifted hater shred. Is this a guy whose channel is called Skateboarder Gifted Hater? Is this a channel on YouTube? Like, I really want it. It's just Gifted Hater? Is this the person? Gifted Hater? Skateboarding's new supervillain? I don't know. 131,000 subscribers? Gifted Hater? Anyway, shreds Hassan Piker, and it's posted. It's a minute and a half long.
Why do I think Hassan is evil? Why do I think Hassan is evil? I mean, I don't see you could possibly, open a page like this and just not see that he's evil. Do we really have to go into it, or can I just show you this photo? And
like, come on, guys. Like, this is the level of criticism that's being reposted in the H3 community. They open up a picture of Hassan modeling his clothing. And then the guy's just like, how can you not say he's evil? Look at this picture of him modeling clothes. Like, this is the level of criticism they're posting.
You understand that he's evil. He has anti-capitalism merch. And he's trained his little audience. He's trained his little audience to defend him with all these stupid talking points. And it's like, dude, come on. Guy works for Amazon. He lives in a mansion. He has capitalism merch t-shirts. He's evil. He is evil. He's an evil, evil man. And he somehow convinced all of these people. He also insults all of his viewers all the time. I mean, that's what I would go after Hassan for if I was making a hit piece on him. He says,
who recorded this video? Why am I only seeing the top half of his head? No, he's not joking. He apparently he thinks Hassan is a capitalist because he's selling a shirt that he thinks is a capitalist shirt, and he's evil at that. Oh my god! Like, just a cavalcade of humorous objections to Hassan.
Freaking out on his own chat. He's an aggressive, angry freak. He's like, you know, I see some of my stuff and I'm like, I'm not like a nice person, but like, I don't have this like terrifying rage within me that somebody like Hassan Piker has. Like, this guy's an actual sociopath.
Bro, who is this guy? Why is he getting posted on this? Why is he getting posted on this? There was one post that I thought was so funny. Which was it?
I didn't have time to do a whole get ready with me.
250,000. 5%.
Oh yeah, this one. This is so funny. So that post survives in the sub, and then you have this, and it's. I know I'm sorry if you are having a good day, and I've just put a complete downer on it, but I need a place to vent and talk about this. My fiance was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2018 and told he had a year to live, but made it all the way until Thursday at 2 p.m. when he died in my arms peacefully. And when they say people have a last breath, they really do. We met in college in 2011 and literally been inseparable since he was literally the sweetest guy you could ever meet, and seriously a huge H3 fan. He's the one that showed me the classic H3 videos. We had a whole life planned where we wanted to live, pets we wanted to have, and even children's names. I know this post is a complete jumbled mess, but just needed a place to talk about it, and if anyone else has been through something similar, I would love to talk to you. I don't have many people in my life that have lost someone this close, and I need people to talk to. Please message me on Instagram at my user. We can be dead partner buddies. Yes, the dark humor is already happening to cope. Then the mod replies, in an effort to try to reduce the spam and low quality content on this sub, we have decided to remove this post. Like, this fucking post of a poor, I'm assuming of a poor woman talking about how her fiance just died the other day of brain cancer in like one of the saddest and sweetest separations that obviously you can experience in your life, and just crying out for like some kind of like cursed poor imitation of a community where you can just like text with people online, and it gets shut down because it's not an anti-Hassan post, but the fucking guy who looks at a picture of Hassan and is like, man, if you just look at this picture of Hassan and you don't think he's evil, I don't know what to say. Like, do I even need to explain myself? He's evil. Like, that fucking shit gets to slide on the sub. Like, it's just such a fucking cooked, cursed corner of the internet. Oh my god, dude. Like, it's just so fucking dark. Like, how is this place where the guy literally said it's possible for a man to watch child porn and it to be okay? How is this place a less dark corner of the internet than the fucking H3 Productions community page? Late stage capitalism type shit. I guess she picked the wrong community. Well, to be fair to her, it was her husband who was into H3, or her fiance who was into H3. So maybe she'll leave that community. I hope so, because it's a really fucking dark and hate-filled place. Yeah, every post has got to be about Hassan. Okay, we're going to finish this, and then I'm going to go to bed. I'll just do a plug now. If you want to support the channel and help me pay my editors, please consider subscribing. It's only 99 cents a month. And if you want more content like this, where it's just like dumb, fun, late night Saturday content, I'm going to try to be doing more content for my members. So sorry if you're a member and I haven't been doing that, but even if you're not a member, I appreciate you hanging out in chat and having a fun time. And we're going to finish this video and then we're going to end up stream.
Hopefully it's much later than that, but still, I understand they're representing something, but it's a false representation. I think it is corrupting. In books, you can write the inner life of somebody. And one of my many run-ins with Christian readers was in a fantasy trilogy I did called Another Kingdom, where at one point the hero becomes corrupt. And I had describe him using his power to bed a starlet. He's become a famous Hollywood producer, and he uses it to bed a starlet.
Okay, I love this. We've already figured that this guy's a lecherous old creep, and now he's written a fantasy book where the hero becomes corrupted and uses that power and corruption to, I guess, like coerce an attractive young woman into having sex with him. So this guy just wrote a fantasy novel where he has sex with a woman. Like, where he has power over a young woman and then coerces her into having sex with him. Hey, thanks for becoming a channel member, Roy Scott.
And he talks about what bliss it is to have sex with this woman, and they were furious. And I thought, no, that's what it's like to be corrupt. Like, in other words, you wouldn't do it if it weren't bliss. I mean, it's like, so I thought, and I thought it was,
that's right.
And I thought there was at no point was he separated from the moral order. At no point were you thinking, you know who does this well? Martin Scorsese, because he's at least a lapsed Catholic. He may actually be a believing Catholic, I don't know. But he made a movie called The Wolf of Wall Street, which is so riddled with sex.
Yeah, so I couldn't, and wouldn't watch it. But I hear it's great. I'm sure Leo DiCaprio is brilliant.
Leo DiCaprio.
Naked, and she is mind-shatteringly beautiful. At the end of the movie, all you can think is, I never want to live that life. I never want to live that life. I'm so glad I haven't lived that life. And because he's just, I don't know what he does. He infuses it with a kind of death that redeems it.
I get that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. If you have not heard of the College of St. Joseph.
Wait, is the last? Okay, it's not the last 5 minutes of this.
And because I know you say evil, people think all sorts of things, right? They might think of like a cracked porcelain doll face, or they might think of a clown that has a dagger. No. By evil, I just mean the absence of a good that ought to be there, or privation. And so we could talk about physical evil and moral evil. Both, if a rock lacks sight, this isn't a natural evil. If a man does, it is a natural evil, but not a moral evil. Yeah. But in every act of moral evil, I would say that you could point to there being a lack of virtue that ought to have been there. Yes. Like if I abuse my children, there's a lack of paternal affection and protection that ought to be there. So that's what I mean. So I'm not. So it's maybe more of a kind of like, in the philosophical sense of when I say that pornography is evil, I think there's a lack of a good that ought to be there. But so someone might say, all right, Matt, like you say that pornography is intrinsically evil, and so therefore you shouldn't be depicting it. But, there's other things that are intrinsic.
Sunset Beats with the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Leo DiCaprio.
Intrinsically evil, like killing the innocent. And yet you're okay with that being, in certain instances, right, depicted. So what's the difference? Like you show that, and here's what I think the difference is, because I've wrestled with this for a while. I think it's easier, for whatever reason, to watch an intrinsically evil act, such as the murdering of the innocent, without committing an internal sin. There's some separation that still exists that is a lot harder to keep distant when I'm watching a sex act. It's something a lot more visceral, or it just it's very hard to watch it without consuming it in a way that I think watching a murder in a movie or reading about.
Just say that watching sex on TV makes you horny. Just fucking say that. And then say that I'm watching like an innocent kid getting murdered doesn't make me want to go murder someone. Like a normal person can watch sex on TV and not want to, I don't know, not want to like go out and commit sex crimes. Like, I understand if you are, I guess, refraining from pornography and you're not having sex, and then you're just like fucking crazy, and then you see a naked woman on TV and you're like, oh my god, that's doing so much. But I feel like a normal, well-adjusted person can watch that and be fine with it. Like the same way maybe drinking would trigger a recovering alcoholic, or like seeing friends drink would trigger a recovering alcoholic, wouldn't harm someone that doesn't have an abusive relationship with alcohol. It'd be the same with you. Like maybe if you're a porn addict, I don't know, watching Game of Thrones would make you relapse because now you're seeing naked women and you like replay that moment over and over again. Oh, you know what was so funny? These guys are weirdos. They have regressed. This was so funny. So I have like a little cousin who's like 7, I think he's like 7 or 8 years old. I think he's like 8 years old. And I showed him Naruto for the first time, like a couple of months ago. And I think in like episode 1, it was in like maybe it was in like episode 3 or something. In one of the first episodes, Naruto does his sexy jutsu, where he turns into like a naked woman and there's like the smoke clouds covering everything. And I'm like, oh no, let's just like fast forward this part. Then I go back to my cousin's house and I'm like, hey, are you still watching Naruto? Do you want to watch another episode with me? And he's like, yeah. And then I'm like, wait a second, you're only on episode 3. I thought you watched more of it. And then his older brother comes in and he's like, that's just because he keeps rewinding the episode where he does the sexy jutsu. And my little cousin's like, no, that's not true. I'm like, oh my God, bro. So maybe if you have a relationship to sex like a fucking 8-year-old does, watching stuff like that on TV could cause some stirrings within you. But if you're like a normal, well-adjusted adult, I don't think watching Game of Thrones would, I don't know. I feel like if that has an impact on you, you have bigger issues than watching sex on TV.
In a book is without engaging it. Now, because I mean, you could think of a snuff film, right? So if there's a movie where someone's actually being killed, or even we're depicting
what is he talking about?
Such that,
bro, the bad part about watching someone actually being killed is the fucking killing. And obviously, then you can talk about the impact of the positive reception of a snuff film is harmful on society as well.
Maybe I killed this person, even if it is acted out. And if that's the entire point of the movie, I would say, well, that should be condemned. So anyway, those are some thoughts.
Well, I do think, I told you that story before about the guy pitching me this story about,
yeah.
But those were things that were being made at that time. They were called torture porn, and it wasn't pornography per se,
yeah.
But it was people being tortured throughout a long period of the movie for the excitement, the excitation of the audience. And I tried to watch one once because I was out in Hollywood and I thought, I keep hearing about this.
Yeah.
And I literally could not watch it. I mean, I just thought, it was girls with beautiful bodies taking off their clothes and then they would cart them off. And I just thought, I'm sorry.
What is he watching? Like, what fucking movie is he watching?
And that was a sense that, like, somebody was doing something evil to me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to participate.
Now, I won't say it explicitly because I don't want to divulge personal information, but you do in this book, you talk about, watching certain things that you went down that rabbit trail. It's raining, but we've got really good microphones, so hopefully
every time he has a bad thought. Bad.
But I mean, are you of the opinion that no one should ever watch pornography?
Am I? Yeah.
Good. Okay, cool. Yeah. Me too. Thanks very much for watching that.
Oh my God. Okay, these guys are fucking hilarious. Anyway, they had a issue with this guy debated Dennis Prager because Prager's like, oh, if your wife isn't in the mood, you should convince her that she has to have sex with you. And then this guy's like, what, do you think it's always bad to watch pornography? And he's like, oh, no, I love watching it. Sounds like he's binging the Hostel movies. What movies is he watching where like young women get naked and then get tortured? Is it like Saw movies? The scene with the ankle. Oh my God, I can't do gory movies. I don't know. I don't want to know what you guys are talking about. But yeah, why torture porn. He's just watching like horror movies. I don't know. These guys are hilarious, though. We'll watch more of this later. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. Thanks for participating in chat. I want to thank Vadim one more time for coming on. And yeah, thanks for all of the chats. Thanks for your subscriptions. And everyone, have a great rest of your evening, morning, or however it's going for you. All right. Peace out. I'll see ya.